One, add the stage. Check to see if we got audio video. Please, sir. And we don't because we are completely fucking frozen already.
Why does it hate us, dude?
I'm about to really just start fucking snapping and breaking shit. It's what's about to fucking happen. We are completely fucking frozen.
Well.
Alright, so y'all can hear me fucking snapping shit. I'm about to really just start fucking snapping and breaking shit. It's what's about to fucking happen. We are completely fucking frozen. Well. Alright, so y'all can hear me fucking snapping shit. I'm about to really just start fucking snapping and breaking shit.
There we go.
Down. It's on fucking loop.
It's weird. I don't know why it would be on.
Alright, we got audio, we got video, and
it's weirdly looping though.
Yeah, because it picked up the fucking audio. Okay. Alright, hopefully we're done fucking with the looping.
Loop.
And take next caller.
See how this works.
I don't know that we're going to be able to hear him.
Oh no. I was worried about that.
I didn't even fucking think about that. Are you there?
Yo, can you hear me?
And he is there. I can see that he's talking, but I can't fucking hear him.
Hello, 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 hello.
Yeah, we're working on it. Yeah. Shit. Okay, hold on. I didn't think about the fact that all our audio's turned down, so we're not on a fucking loop in here. Let me see. I do appreciate you joining. Didn't think this all the way fucking through. What is the next fucking step so that we can hear you, but they can't pick you up on the audio? You're turned up maximum. Goals. Background noises. Let's see if that fucking works. All right, we're going to turn the audio up on here. Allow sound. Done. Are you still there?
Yep, I just got myself muted while you figure it out.
All right, I can hear you. Let's see if it picks up on the... I tried to suppress all the noise because we are really the shittiest podcast on Rumble. I do appreciate you showing up. But are you picking up any feedback loop back there? Like when he speaks to me? No feedback loop. All right, let's run this. How you doing today, brother?
Chilling. Just got home like 30, 40 minutes ago. How y'all doing?
Living the dream, boss. Nightmares can be dreams too, though.
That's great. Good to hear.
Can you hear him on... Okay, perfect. And we're not doing a feedback loop. Hey, without a feedback loop? Okay, so hopefully...
I'll run it for a second over.
Hopefully this works better than I expected it to, because the new version of Rumble Studio at times likes to shit on me and just cut my audio and video out. So, what do you want to talk about, brother? You're the guest.
Let me think about that. I did not have a lot of time to prepare because I got home. So one.
Go ahead.
I was just when we were like talking, or when I was texting y'all in y'all's last live stream, I feel like one way that we kept arguing in circles was that y'all would say that communism doesn't work, right?
That's correct.
Yes.
And then I would say, well, communism has never been implemented in a country, which it hasn't. Like, communism has never been fully achieved. And then and then y'all would say, well, isn't China communist? Isn't Russia communist? Which neither of those countries are communist. But if we were to compare China or Russia, I mean, both of those countries are successful now. I mean, both of those countries have a population that have a similar standard of living to us. China has a population that has a better standard of living than most Americans. So I thought it'd be good just for us to not argue in circles is, are we saying China is communist, or are we agreeing that there is no communist country in the world?
So we are definitely going to agree because I've done some digging on communism itself, and in practice, this is what I will give you on communism as far as just like an acceptance of the theory. In theory, communism works in small variations. That's why we have communes. But when you really like break down, because I did have some time, so no, China is not a communist country. It has communist principles with capitalist backing.
Yes.
And most countries are that exact way. It's communist principle with capitalist backing because on large scale, communism does not work either because there's a power imbalance or somebody decides that they want all the grapes and somebody decides they don't want to work.
So yes, that's where I would disagree. And so like with China specifically, like China, most people would classify as socialist. While China does engage in the free market throughout the world, as do pretty much every country does in the world. That's because, like, the world is, and it's just my opinion, but because
Yeah.
most of the world engages in the free market. Most of the world is capitalistic. Like, imagine if the roles were reversed, and let's say for some reason a majority of countries were communist, or not even communist. Let's say like we were 300 years in the past, and the majority of the world is still run by kings and queens, right? Like, it would be difficult for a capitalist nation to be able to get up on the ground because a system that is inherently against that system is surrounding it and making sure it doesn't succeed.
I mean, I
Yeah.
hear what you're saying, but 300 years ago that was the case, and yet here we are today in a capitalistic society. I
Yeah.
mean,
Mm,
and correct me if I'm wrong, but when we talk about communism, are
mhm.
we talking about a no money, no borders, stateless point? Because from the bit of research I have done, in the end, that is the goal of like Karl Marxism's theories on socialism and communism.
Yeah, the end goal is to make it to where there's no longer. It's not like, oh, like we just want to abolish money just to, like, for the sake of getting rid of money. Like, the end goal is that the class divisions between workers and rich people have become so minute that, like, like, money would be redundant. Like, there would be no reason to have money because everyone's needs would be met.
And so on, and as I agreed with you in the beginning, that on paper sounds fantastic. And
Yeah.
that's coming from somebody that full on believes in capitalism. But the reason I full on believe in capitalism is if you look all the times, and even looking at the Karl Marx and Frederick Engels describing the historic developmental stages of getting to communism, every
Mhm.
country that's tried to follow those states has ended up at some point having to use capitalism to prop it up, either because there's freeloaders or there's people that just don't do like they should do in a communist country.
So I see what you're saying. I think that's just like a common, or not common, that is a misconception of how people view socialism or communism. So socialism or or first of all, or I don't know if y'all know this because I know that y'all did research, but, like, I'll just, like, say this for, like, like,
Yeah,
people who are watching.
absolutely.
Communists believe that we need socialism to transition into communism. So all communists are socialists. We all believe that we need to get into social, because we can't just magically teleport into a society where there's no money and all, because that would be, no one could do that.
Yes.
um and so socialists don't believe that, like, people can just be lazy and they'll get a free handout. Like, I mean, we can look at all the unemployed people in the United States. Like, most of the people who are unemployed in the United States don't want to be unemployed. They want to be employed. They just can't find a job, or a job that actually pays a livable wage. Or we have a lot of people who do 2 to 3 jobs, which I think is absurd when we live in a country where people get paid millions and billions of dollars to sit on their ass because they had a good idea 20 years ago. Um, and so, like, socialists don't believe that, like, we should just be giving people handouts. Socialists just believe that we should be paying workers for the labor that they're producing adequately.
Well, and in a perfect world, that would work. But the problem is you do have lazy people, which is why you've left the little adjunction on the end that most people that are homeless or jobless don't want to be.
but there are some people that do just want to sit on their ass.
Yeah, very few, but I don't think those people are,
I don't agree that it's very few, but that can be a point to agree to disagree. But at the end of the day, it hasn't worked at all. So how would you get it to work? How would you get it to a point where that transition from socialism actually becomes full-blown communism? Because any and I actually had enough free time at my job today to dive deeply into communism, which is why I stated at the very beginning that on paper, when you don't look at it like the Communist Chinese Party, when you don't look at it at the dictatorships that most of the time come from communism or come from trying to achieve communism, when we're not talking about the North Koreas, the Communist Chinese Party, when we're not talking about the USSR, where we end up with gulags and all of that, on paper, it does sound like a utopia. The problem is getting it from paper to actually a working thesis or a working role.
So I mean, I agree with you that communism sounds good on paper. I personally don't think capitalism sounds even good on paper. I mean, in capitalist theory, like, and we can disagree or agree whether or not we think the morality of it is okay, but like on paper, like this is not debatable. Like capitalism is built on exploitation. You need a group of people to exploit. You need a group of people to pay less than what they're doing for someone to make profit under capitalism. I personally think that is not good. I don't want to exploit people. I don't want people to be
I
exploited.
don't like exploitation either. I will agree with you on that statement.
And if we don't like exploitation, and I'm not, and I know because exploitation sounds like a very negative word, which it is, but like when I say that, I'm not even saying it in like I'm trying to like make you feel bad. Just like legitimately, capitalism is built off of exploitation. There is no other way for capitalism to function without you need to pay someone less than what they're worth to make a profit under capitalism. And what you were saying about gulags, I mean, Soviet Union gulags were obviously awful, but I mean, we have one of the worst prison systems in the United States. Obviously, I'm not saying two wrongs make a right or something like that. I'm not saying just because we do bad things that makes it okay that the Soviet Union had gulags. But I do think that I can't think of the word. Like when we always like, oh, the gulags, the gulags. I mean, we don't treat our criminals very well either. So,
are we comparing our prison systems to the gulags? Because that is two completely different systems.
Our prison systems have slave labor. Our prison systems don't really care about the rehabilitation of
They don't
prisoners.
care about rehabilitation. I will agree with you on that. But like, for instance, you always hear people go, well, God, I don't want to go to prison in Mexico.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to go to prison in the Soviet Union. Or
well, I wouldn't want to go to prison in Mexico because I don't speak Spanish. But I mean, like,
Straight up.
but like that doesn't mean that like our prison system is much better. I mean, I've had family members. I have a family member in prison right now actually, and I mean, yeah, the conditions are not good. I mean, federal prisons are like okay, but I mean even ignoring the conditions like me and you agreed on earlier, it's like, yeah, we have no interest in rehabilitating our prisoners. We if anything, we condition them to like go back into the prison system. So I don't think the way we handle our criminals is any much better. Obviously gulag sounds scarier.
And I'm not standing up for our prison systems. There's a lot of reform that does need to happen there. I'm not disagreeing with you there. But in my mind, like understanding the fact that it's okay to torture, to torment, to beat, and I'm not talking about like one-off shitty COs in a prison in fucking Virginia. But I'm talking like things that were known to happen in Soviet Union prisons, for instance. And I only use the gulag because that's one most of the audience would understand.
Yeah. We have our own severe gulags. I mean, Guantanamo Bay is one of them. I mean, we have places where we specifically
we have one, and that is Guantanamo Bay, because we had to bring up some place where we could torture people to get information out of that wasn't on the United States soil, because we're not allowed to torture in America, which I'm all for not torturing in America. Like, understand, I'm not one of those people that's so far right-wing extremists that I think that we should be able to beat the shit out of people and extract information. But at the end of the day, stuff does happen in every country.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to defend gulags in the Soviet Union. Like, I'm not trying to do. I'm just saying because I do hear a lot of times like people bring up the gulags. And it's like, well, I mean, the United States, other countries, I mean, we do the same thing. Maybe not on the scale as these mystical gulags, Russian gulags. But I'm trying to think of what else you said. But could you do you remember anything else you said earlier, or should we move on to something else?
No, we can stay on communism though, because one of the things that you were saying is communism, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it would you say it inspires people to do more or do less?
I mean, I can only talk from my experience. Prior to me learning about socialism and communism, I had almost zero interest in being in the workforce or like ever doing a great job in the workforce because when I did have jobs in high school and even outside of high school, I'm fairly new to, so I'd only be a I'd be a self-described communist for maybe a year. And
I
I'm
got you.
I'm 25 right now.
And
Um,
I'm 43.
I
Full
see.
disclosure.
And
36.
Old as
nice,
shit.
nice. I have a brother older than y'all, so it's all good.
Oh, there you go.
Cool,
Uh,
cool.
what's it called? Prior to this, like I had no passion when I was at a job because I wasn't getting paid well. My conditions weren't very good, and obviously you can say, oh, it's because you worked like a high school job. I mean, the best job I ever had was probably working for UPS. And that was a decent job. But like but ever since I've learned about socialism or communism, of this idea or this theory that like a worker can actually get paid for what he's worth, a worker can actually get paid for the labor that he does adequately. I've That makes me excited to work. That makes me excited to learn to be a teacher so I can educate people. So I mean, personally for me, prior to this stuff, I didn't give a fuck about working at all, and I was like, I don't want to work for anyone because they're paying me like shit.
So, would we disagree that capitalism rewards people for creating value others are willing to pay for, while communism removes that link between effort, rewarding some people for producing less?
Could you say that one more time?
Would we disagree then capitalism rewards people for creating value others are willing to pay for, i.e., if I create the new shiny fucking computer that can play all the games that none of the others can,
Mhm.
where communism removes that link for effort and rewards some people for producing less?
I would disagree because so what you're describing right now with like, oh, someone is making the best new thing, like that's innovation, right? Like
Yes.
creating innovation, whatever. Innovation was a thing prior to capitalism. The benefit of capitalism and what like the quote unquote good thing about capitalism is yes, you are able to make an abundance very quickly. That's why when you talked about earlier socialist countries reverting back to capital, like yeah, when the Soviet Union had their socialist revolution, they did revert back to capitalism a little bit, but that's because they never industrialized. When the Soviet Union revolted, or when the Russians revolted, turned into the Soviet Union, they never really went through capitalism. They were still very much feudalists. They had monarchs, so they needed capitalism to industrialize. And capitalism is very good at industrialization. It's very good at making an abundance of things very quickly. But the problem is when that abundance comes out and the people who own that abundance decides to hoard it instead of helping society with this newfound wealth.
So you just said the Soviet Union didn't industrialize, but in fact, the Soviet Union had rapid industrialization
Hmm.
after World War II.
Yeah.
Now, it
Mhm.
was at humongous human costs. Like there were lots of dead Soviets in the process of actually industrializing the Soviet Union.
That
What
was very.
happened
Mhm. Mhm.
was all of the like the guys in charge took everything.
So who are the guys in charge? Are
The
we
guys
talking
in
about?
charge of the Soviet Union in the
Mhm.
80s, I can't remember his
Is it
name right
Lenin?
now. He had the fucking
Shout
tattoo
out
on
Lenin. Lenin's the goat.
Lenin and
Yeah.
all of that. Like they took, instead of actually distributing the wealth,
Mhm.
and this is my point. This is why I have a problem with communism. Because as I stated when we started, on paper, I agree with you. Communism sounds spectacular.
Mhm.
Like it sounds like everybody gets a Lamborghini as long as everybody contributes. And
Mhm.
fuck, I want a Lamborghini. That'd be great. And I have no chance of getting one in my current state in this capitalistic society. But
Mhm.
on the flip side, in the capitalistic society that we live in, like for instance, if you own a car, you're in the top 1% of wealth in the world.
Okay. Yeah, I remember when you said that. You said top 1% of the world. I mean, sure, but also like I just don't think like a car is, yeah, actually, this is good.
But
I just remember this.
okay, go
Uh,
ahead.
um, I was thinking about that exact talking point actually, yesterday that you brought up. The the reason why we have cars, like I looked it up, like the car ownership rate in the United States I think is like 93%, 92, 93%. That's not because 92, 93% of Americans are rich or something. It's because the country is built on highways, it's built on roads. If you don't have a car, you cannot survive in the United States. There are countries outside of the United States that don't really need a car to survive. They're much more walkable. They have good public transportation. The United States does not have good public transportation. So I mean, I don't think a car is a very good measure on whether someone is rich or not, or successful. I think what is much better gauge is home ownership, and I believe home ownership in the United States is around 55%, 55 to 60%. And if we were to compare that to China, scary socialist China, they are about 92 to 93% home ownership rate, and I think that is a much better gauge on success or wealth from one's
I mean,
person.
I hear what you're saying, but under communists, there is no individual ownership.
Yes, there is.
Not in the research I've done.
And that's another thing that we can, that is another thing that like a lot of conservatives are told this. So there's a difference between and tell me if I'm talking too much and I can let you talk. I'm
No,
sorry.
no,
Oh,
you can
go.
go.
You're the
No, this is
guest.
great.
You're the
You're the
guest.
guest. That's why I wanted to I was excited to have you on because we do have opposing political views. We have opposing views on a lot of things. And I am one of those people that I firmly think that, and not to bring up the late, great Charlie Kirk, but he was spectacular at, is interjecting conversation between people with opposing views without trashing them. Like the one thing I'm really glad and I was kind of worried about, to be perfectly honest, was that this was going to be a troll conversation where you were going to shit on us the whole fucking time and just try to be an asshole, and I was going to end up having to cut the feed. And I'm very, very like grateful that that's not what you're doing. You are trying to have a legitimate conversation with us, which, no offense to, because I'm assuming your political affiliation, and that is an assumption. Well, I guess I'm not. You're a full blown communist. You believe
I,
in it,
I'm
and
I'm a part of a communist party.
yes. So we are of opposing views, but you're not over here going, y'all are stupid inbred rednecks, you're stupid fucks, like any of that stupid stuff. So I
Mhm.
do appreciate the fact that we are having just open dialogue, because and that's my reference to Charlie Kirk, is I just don't see enough open dialogue between two people with opposing views to just sit there and have a conversation is a great thing. So you are more than welcome to talk. If I and sometimes I do get antsy, I do have that I want to talk fucking vibe, so forgive me for that. But if you're on a tangent, run with it, because basically I'm on the podcast until the lights turn off.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so yeah, so yeah, you said that there's no, like, no one owns anything under communism. That's or socialism. That's not true. So there's a difference between personal property and private property or capital. So like when I say I want the abolishment of capitalism or I want the abolishment of private property, I'm not saying I don't want you to own a house, or I don't want you to own a car or a toothbrush. We're not going to all share a toothbrush, you know, that'd be ridiculous. The government mandated toothbrush. So the difference between personal and private property is like, so so I have parents and I have a sister, right? Say my family owned three houses, and one house was for my parents, one house was for me and my family, and one house was for my sister and her family. All three of those houses would be our personal property. We are using the houses as they're intended. We are using them for shelter. We pay the electricity, whatever, yada yada yada. That is our personal property. If we were all like, hey, what if we all moved into one of these houses and used those two houses as rental properties to make more money? Those two houses would be private property. Those two houses would be capital because we are owning those properties purely to make money. That is what we are looking to get rid of. We don't want people to hoard housing like they do in the United States, or hoard a capital in the United States like they do. If you are using something purely to make more money, we personally think that is selfish, and it should be going to help people who need a house. And so so under communism you would have your own property. You would have, but you just wouldn't own five houses to then use those four houses to like only your sole benefit.
And that sounds, I mean, I do have some disagreements there. And you made some comments earlier about some guy had a great idea 20 years ago, but that guy that had the great idea 20 years ago put in forth all the effort, did everything, and did all the work. And for some reason, everyone else should gain off the curtails of that. So like I feel like on paper, like I said, communism works. It sounds great. It sounds spectacular. And I hear what you're saying about going as long as we're all living in individual homes, but if we all move into a one home, treat it like a commune, then the other homes then revert back to the state. Am I understanding correctly?
Yeah, so if we were to talk about like Cuba, so the way Cuba works with housing is if you and your family like own a house, right? If y'all need to move for a job or something, or you just need to move whatever you want to move, you would wait for a home to be vacant, and wherever you want to move, you would move there into that house, which is owned by the government. And then when y- and but because it's not owned by anyone. And then when you leave your initial house to move, you no longer own that house you're moving out of. You now own the house that you currently live in. So yeah, that's like a way to like make sure no one is hoarding housing, and there are people who don't have homes or are paying rent just because someone owns all the properties.
So what happens in a conflict of interest if two people want the same home?
Well, I mean, yeah, that is an issue. I mean, if two people want this, I mean, but the way housing works is over there. It's like, I mean, why would you, if you want this, do you want the same home just because like it has like a second story? Like what do you mean? Like why would someone want the same home?
For whatever reason, it's
Mhm.
painted yellow.
I guess you
Like,
could paint your own house yellow.
like what, but my point is what happened, like how do you determine who gets the home if two individuals want it? And then
Mhm,
I have a set, and I know you don't like necessarily the car analogy as far as explaining the top 1% of wealth. It's not necessarily about who has a car. It's about the fact that according to the rest of the world, if you own a car, you're in the top 1% of wealth in the world. Just owning a 2002 Corolla, then now you're in the top 1% of wealth in the world. And I hear you when you say some countries do, and they do have better public transportation and things like that. But like all intents and purposes, in some places in, I don't know, Istanbul, I'm just picking something randomly out of the head, you don't have the capability to own a car because they're not there. I.e., like Germany before the Berlin Wall came down, you had to sign up for a car something like 15, 20 years before you ever got one because of the systems that were in place as far as trying to be a communistic country.
you're saying in East Germany they had to wait 15 years
I
to
think it
own
was
a
something,
car?
it was either 10, 15, or 20 years. They had to wait from the initial signing date to where, hey, I'm applying for the car, whatever car the government says that I can have. And then beyond that, like why are we still feeding into a government if communism has no government, no govern, no money, no borders,
Mhm,
no, it's just a socialist utopia, which
mhm.
once again sounds great on paper, but I guess what I revert back to is absolute power corrupts absolutely, which is why there's not been a single instance where a large communist or socialist country has thrived long term under a Marxist Leninist central planning without introducing substantial capitalist elements.
Yeah. So okay. So you kind of said a lot right there. Could you like
I did.
condense that
I'm
into like a
sorry.
question? No, yeah, no worries. But could you condense it into
Um,
like a question or two?
at the end of the day, why is it that no communist country or socialist country has thrived long term under a pure Marxist Leninist central planning without introducing substantial capitalist elements? Like, for instance, you used Vietnam the
Mhm,
Saturday,
mhm,
but Vietnam has large capitalistic things behind it that are
mhm,
pushing that communistic thing forward.
mhm,
Because in most countries, once they get to the socialist part, when they make that transition to socialism, they end up dealing with famine, they end up dealing with housing loss, they end up dealing, and we can talk about how 93% of ownership in communist China or socialist China of house ownership and all that sounds great, but like why is it at the end of the day that it just hasn't worked? Because there's so many different countries we can talk about that have used this Marxist Leninist stylist of hey, this is how the steps you get to communist. But whenever they get to the socialist part, it all goes to shit until they bring in capitalism or some variation of it.
So from what I've read and from what I know, the reason why, and because I think it would be good to like picture this like in your brains, like when I want to go from capitalism to socialism, it's not like it is our beliefs that like capitalism is supposed to transition into socialism, you know? It's not like, oh, we want to like just end all economics as we know it and like we're making a whole new thing or whatever. Like it's in the same way how like feudalism transitioned into capitalism. We want capitalism to transition into socialism and then socialism transition into communism. And transitions take time. So like I mean, when you say, oh, why have these countries have had to use capitalism who are transitioning to socialism? It's because they're transitioning. They to become a completely socialist country in a world that is majority capitalist would mean that they can't trade with 90% of the world. That would be a death sentence. That is a big reason why these countries have to still engage in the free market. Because if they didn't, like I mean, take for example North Korea. North Korea is a country that almost does not involved is not excuse me is not involved in the free market almost at all. They pretty much only trade with China, I think Russia, and Vietnam, maybe
Yeah,
some
but
other.
China's a pretty big country to be trading with. They should be able to get just about anything they need to
Yeah,
from China.
China's a big reason why North Korea hasn't all died.
And yet, if you look on, for instance, a map from space of North Korea at night, most of the lights are off.
I have seen that, yeah. They could just be conserving energy. I don't know. Yeah, I mean they're not a very rich country because they're kind
I
of
mean,
I'm
well,
not. I also, I mean, I'm not. I'll say this right now. I'm not like
I
a
don't believe you're standing up for North
yeah,
Korea.
yeah, yeah,
So understand
Yeah.
that. We're talking about the ideas of what North Korea is trying to base itself on. We
Mhm,
don't believe you're standing up for Kim Jong Un or any of
mhm,
those people. You don't sound like that type of communist. No
mhm,
stigma intended.
mhm,
But at the end of the day, like North Korea is actually a great example of a country that's trying to be a full blown socialist communist country. And you can say that maybe they're trying to conserve power, but why are they trying to conserve power? Because they don't have the capability to produce power.
yeah.
Because
they don't have. All right. I'm sorry. Go on.
you're okay. Because at the end of the day, there's a guy in charge that's absorbing as much money as fucking possible, and
Mhm,
he's not sharing or distributing the wealth. And in my opinion, that's what happens in communist countries. That
mhm.
whoever in the end ends up being the guy on top, well, he's fat, happy, and nappy like Kim Jong Un. And the regular, everyday people that are supposed to be part of the utopia
Mhm.
suffer.
So would you say you are completely against greed and against hoarding of wealth?
That uh, in the degree that many people, I can't turn my lights on at night. Yes,
I mean,
but
the
am
way
I
like
against somebody that has a great idea? Like fuck, I hate Bill Gates. Okay, full disclosure, I think
oh,
he's a piece of shit. But at the end of the day, I don't think that anybody else is deserving of the money that he's created from Xbox and from
mhm,
Microsoft and from all the things. And I also do see thousands of people that are wealthy that worked for Bill Gates. So it's not like he's not paying a livable wage.
yeah, for like the higher up people in Microsoft, they definitely get paid a decent amount. So and I still disagree with you on the idea that if someone has a really good idea, they should become a billionaire. I just completely disagree with that. But if we want to go on the idea that if someone has a good idea, you know, gets a good company going up, we can go along with that. But what happens when Bill Gates dies or when Jeff Bezos dies and he gives a majority of his shares to his children who did nothing for those companies? Should they be allowed to be that rich just because they were the sons of someone who had a good idea?
So, but who's the one that decides that?
The I mean Bill Gates, he gets to decide who he gives his money to.
Yeah, not the government.
No, no, Bill Gates gets to decide if all of his wealth
And
goes to his children or
that's
not.
so I'm a firm believer of like small government, like individual rights. Like I think everything the government touches, it fucks up. To be perfectly honest with
Do
you,
you, can I or
even
this is kind of a random question, but do you think that the government has the right to say if a woman can have an abortion or not?
I think murder is murder. And if I'm willing to give you life of the mother, incest, and rape,
But the
are we
gov
willing to say that the rest shouldn't happen and murder is murder? Are we willing to say that if I shoot a pregnant woman and she dies and the baby dies, I get a double homicide?
We don't
I
open a
mean,
can of worms.
sure, but I mean, if a woman decides that she doesn't want to be pregnant, I mean, I don't know. Someone saying
There's a
that like,
really easy way not to get pregnant.
well, I
There's
mean,
a
having
really easy way to make sure that happens.
okay,
Don't
go
have
on.
sex.
Oh, okay. I mean, but like, sex is kind of like a natural thing that everyone likes to have, right?
I mean, so's jerking off, but I can't walk in front of a school and do that.
Well, yeah, but you jerking off isn't like being. There's not legislation trying to stop you from jerking off, like in the privacy of
There
your own
is
home.
in public.
Well, yeah, but no one's getting an abortion in public. They're doing it in a Planned Parenthood.
Which is the largest killing of African Americans on the planet. But I mean, we can dive into abortion if you'd like. I didn't see this coming, so I have no notes for this, which
Okay.
that's actually a good spin for you because I have severe ADHD and hyperfixation is one of my superpowers.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no hyperfixation on this other than the random knowledge in my brain. So we
Mm-hmm.
can go to abortion if you'd like. But
I'm well, I was just asking because you were saying like small government. I mean, we can talk about abortion. I feel like that might be a less what's the word I'm looking for? A less I can't think of the word. A less important conversation, I guess, because I doubt
and
we're
that's
either.
fine. We don't have to go there. But like, if
Hmm.
you're going to ask me,
Yeah.
like,
Hmm.
should the government be able to control that? No, but they should be able to control murder. And at the end of the day, my personal opinion is that is taking the life of another individual.
So what about the murder that we do like every day, like in Iran or Palestine, though?
I mean, if you want to talk about Palestine, can wait, I did hyperfixate on Palestine. Just full
Okay.
disclosure. So, are we going to talk about how Palestine likes to hide all of their stuff behind civilians?
Yeah, that's just kind of like what Israel says to
It's
so they
not
can keep
Israel. The
killing
UN
people.
actually says that.
I mean, the UN is just another group that like helps with Western propaganda
I mean, but
Mm,
why do we have Western propaganda?
to
No,
further
no,
the
no.
Western values of capitalism
Are we
and
talking about
imperialism.
propaganda in America or outside of America?
Well, I mean, the UN is just a way for America and other capitalist European countries to like spread their ideas.
Okay, so if Hamas actually has come out and said that they have hidden those things behind civilian
So,
reinforcements, is that
so
another conversation we could have?
what like so when you say hide behind civilians, like what are
Like
they hiding behind?
specifically putting missile deployment systems inside of
like
hospitals and
something they know
schools.
we'd bomb.
Mm-hmm. Like
They're
so
using civilians as shields. So I am trying to understand that because you do sound like somebody that likes at least born adult life or human life after consent or after birth.
mm-hmm.
It,
I mean,
it,
I like all life. Conservatives don't care about people's lives at all. That's why they don't like Social Security and stuff, and like actually trying to give people benefits. But I mean,
is that
yeah,
conservatives or is that government overrun where people are wasting money? Because once again, that's two different conversations.
I mean, I don't know about wasting money. I feel like what's wasting money is a bunch of billionaires hoarding wealth so they can like count their money stacks. I feel like that's more a waste of money.
I mean, we're going in a different direction again because once again, I was trying to blame the government, but okay,
Billionaires are
so
a part of the government. Billionaires like funnel the pockets of our government.
oh,
Well,
there's lots of stuff that funnels the pocket of our government. Big pharma,
Yeah,
billionaires.
yeah,
You
billionaires.
you could,
but
yeah.
also if I work for a billionaire, like say I work for Microsoft,
Hmm.
I can own stocks there. Whereas in full blown communism, I'm not allowed to own stock.
And well, yeah, in full blown communism, there would be no need to own stock because everyone's needs would be met. Like the reason to have stock is to try to make yourself richer and richer and richer. Under communism, there would literally be no reason to make yourself richer because
Because all my
everyone.
needs would be met.
But
Yeah.
in every form of communism, at the end of the day, most lower class, because I know the point of communism is a classless society, but in every form of communism that has tried to been achieved, at the end of the day, what happens is there's still two classes: the workers and the work nots. The people on top that are controlling it, be it the Kim Jong Uns, Lenins, the people that are in charge
hmm
end up doing less and collecting more.
Well, so no, so
Because
the goal.
absolute power
Mhm.
corrupts absolutely.
The goal of communism is not to have like a one true communist leader. The intention of communism is to make the workers own everything, to where, like, let's say you work for a plumbing company, or you're just a plumber, you own a part of that plumbing company. You are getting an equal share of that plumbing company, an equal pay of that plumbing company. Like,
And on paper, that works,
I think it could work in general. I mean, we would
but it
have to get rid
hasn't
of
worked
capitalism.
yet.
Well, yeah, it hasn't worked yet, but that's like during 400 years ago when there was kings and queens, and someone's like, I want to have my own store. Fuck the queen. I want my own store. And then the queen said, that's never going to work. You're always
And
going to
then
be under me.
capitalism 400 years later did work,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, it takes
communism
time.
didn't.
Not yet. But
I mean,
I see what you're saying, but you have to admit, people were saying capitalism wasn't going to work when everyone was ruled by kings and queens.
but then it did.
But then it did, yeah. And
Like,
then
there's no, and we probably need to go to a different subject, although we
okay.
can run this circle for the
Yeah.
next hour. I don't mind.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, every example you have that we can talk about communism ends up using capitalism, and you can go, well, they needed to,
Yeah.
but they didn't. They needed to because the socialist projects ended up draining the government funds so far that they had to turn to capitalism to prop up the socialist agenda. Which the point of the socialist agenda, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to not need capitalism to prop it up to reach to full communism. Like,
Yes.
the point is to
The
move away from it.
yes, the point of socialism is to deviate further and further away from capitalism and to
But the
eventually go
deeper
up
you
to
get
communism.
into socialism, the more that they end up needing capitalism in order to prop up the adjunct part of the system that they have to actually lift their people out of poverty. As a
Mhm.
matter of fact, every great socialist, and I'm air quoting, I don't mean to be ignorant, but every great socialist country ended up almost in failure until they brought back capitalism instead of going away from it. I mean, there's no,
I feel like we're talking in circles.
and I do too. I do too. So pick the next subject. We
Yeah.
can go wherever you want.
We'll end it with you think that, like, it's, socialists using capitalist or parts of capitalism means it's a failure of socialism. My stance is it's a necessary thing to transition fully into socialism, and we can
And
end
let
it.
me just make one additional comment. My thought is reverting back to communism
Hmm.
from socialism is the failure.
Reverting to capitalism from socialism.
Reverting back to it after
Yes.
coming from it
Yes.
and then getting to socialism and then having to revert back to it. That
Mhm.
sounds like backtracking, and
Well,
it's never worked without it.
yeah, it is backtrack actually. What you're talking about with Lenin, when they during the Soviet Union, when they realized that they did have to bring the market back, bring capitalism into the Soviet Union to a certain extent, so they could actually trade with people, because all capitalist countries wouldn't trade with them. He himself said that it was a recession into capitalism. It is a step back, but it was a step back that was seemed necessary to survive
And
under the capitalist world.
it is a step back that every communist attempt has had to make. Every one of them.
Every socialist state has had to keep being a part of the free market so that they can trade with the majority of the world.
Even though they have China that's standing behind them, even though they have Russia, which is trying to be, which actually is reverting more back to Judeo-Christian values.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
Russia's not remotely socialist or communist.
Not anymore.
They've been a completely capitalist
I
country
said
since the 90s. Yeah.
I meant to say the USSR, but
Mhm.
I did make. But yes, so we're going to have to agree to disagree. Neither one of us convinced either one of us of anything, but it was still a good conversation, and I still enjoyed that part. So where do you want to go next? Do you want to go? Where do you want to go? You're driving, brother.
I mean, those were my biggest arguments with you, was about communism. I'm trying to think if there's
So you
some.
liked to bring up Israel the other day.
Okay, yeah.
So what is your stance on Israel?
Israel is a country that the United States funds and supplies so that we can have influence in the Middle East because we still wish to have control of the Middle East and their resources. There's a reason why we have military bases in pretty much every country in the Middle East except for Iran, and there's a reason why we're trying to go to a war with Iran right now. Yeah, Israel is a puppet state for the United States that we use to control the Middle East.
So you're not one of the people that believe in the Zog.
And the what?
Zog, the
So I don't
Zionist
know.
occupied government. Where Israel
Well, I mean, it's
controls
like it's
America.
coincided, right? I'm sure there are people in our government that like gets paid by Israel, but that's because Israel gets paid by us. We're just like giving each other money. Now I don't think that Israel has like, some dirt on like the United States and is forcing our hand, and the United States secretly doesn't want to do it. No, we are completely complicit with what we are doing with Israel. No,
You know
I
what?
don't.
That is spectacular. I'm glad somebody your age actually, and I don't necessarily disagree or deviate from a lot of what you just said, but I'm glad that you're not one of the people that are out here talking about how a country that has the GDP of Rhode Island is somehow controlling America.
No,
So
mhm.
I do appreciate that.
I'm also not anti-Semitic. I know Jews aren't all Israelis. I don't like Israelis and I don't like Israel, but that doesn't mean that I don't like Jews, and people who use Israel as an excuse to be anti-Semitic are obviously
Right.
extremely gross.
Okay. Well, I can respect the shit out of that,
Yep,
actually.
yep.
So that means I don't have to dive into the Ashkenazi and everything else. So you are pro-Palestine, though. So let me ask, like, I've given you a lot of reasons that I'm anti-Palestine, and you can talk about the loss of civilian life, but in urban combat, civilian life lost is usually a 1 to 3, which means for every combatant that's killed, 3 civilians are killed. In
And you're
Palestine,
talking about in Palestine.
I'm talking about in general urban combat,
Oh, okay.
not even just Palestine. In Palestine, and this is per Hamas's numbers, it's 1 to 2 to 1 to 1, which means for every enemy combatant, 1 civilian's died or 2 civilians have died. Now, first off, any civilian loss of life is terrible, and beyond that, any loss of life is terrible. The loss of life is a terrible thing. But I'm confused on why you would side with a country that is propping up a known terroristic country, or not country, a terroristic group like Hamas.
So
So
mhm.
lead into that for me.
I mean, obviously, I mean, like, I've never talked to someone from Hamas. I would be surprised if I went up and talked to the leaders of Hamas and I agreed with them on everything. I doubt I agree with Hamas on everything. But I mean, if we're using the word terrorist, I mean, during the American Revolution, the Americans would be called terrorists. During the Civil War, either side could be called a terrorist to the other opposing side. Like, and in any war, in any conflict, there's going to be the quote unquote terrorist. The word terrorist really doesn't do anything for me because the Palestinian people have been oppressed and harassed for longer than any of us have been alive. I don't really care if like Palestine wasn't quote unquote a thing. They lived there. Israel came, or I'm not sorry, Israel. European Jews came to that land, claimed it as Israel, started doing a settler colonial project, and started treating the people who had lived there like shit. So yeah, I'm not surprised at all that groups like Hamas, as radical as they are a thing because they are people who have been severely and grossly abused for decades, and so I can completely see why they act this way because they would like to no longer be oppressed.
So do you agree with what happened on October 7th?
I mean, that's like asking me, do I agree with Hiroshima, or do I agree with like like no, I don't. Like, I don't think people should die, but I can also see why it happened.
But
That's even
they,
worse because I don't think Hiroshima should have happened at all. But that's like asking me like, do I think someone should have died in Germany because of World War II? Like, no, I don't think anyone should have died, but I
so
can see
do
what happened.
you? Okay, so you don't agree with October 7th, which once again is a great statement because most of the people targeted on October 7th were civilian Israelis. And even though you don't like the Israelis, we can all agree civilians are still one of the bad things to target in a conflict.
Yeah,
They-
I don't want civilians to die, but also I can see why Hamas did that because Israel did that to them daily.
I don't see videos where Israel is chopping babies up.
Hamas isn't chopping babies up. That's like a
There's actually video that was live streamed by the people from Hamas that were attacking Israel doing that exact thing.
I would ask for the link, but I really don't want to see that.
And I appreciate that. Like, we're not gonna like so like I guess my issue is like, for instance, so you're saying that the Palestinians were so attacked and so done whatever, but like, what about the fact that Hamas is literally, hold on, let me go to my notes. Is literally, those are the wrong notes. What about the fact that Hamas is literally preventing humanitarian aid from reaching the people in Gaza?
I think Israel's doing that.
I mean, that sounds like a very
yeah, and that's like a he said she said thing.
To that.
I mean, yeah, there's like so much footage of like Israel, and also Israel kills like humanitarian aid, and Israel kills journalists.
There was 3 journalists that were killed in a strike. Yes, I will agree with that.
I remember when like the when the genocide first started getting really like into the news like a few years ago. The first thing I read, Israel kills like 5 aid workers. Like Israel has been killing aid workers, people trying to give the Palestinian people aid. Israel has been killing journalists, been trying to kill journalists. Like, I mean, I don't saying that Hamas is doing this. I mean, I just don't believe that. If you want to think that, I mean, that's one thing, but I don't personally believe that.
But have you done your own research to actually look into whether Hamas is doing any of that, or are you just blindly following what you're
No, I've done.
on social media?
I mean, yeah, I've looked up like what Hamas does, and I mean, I just don't see how what Hamas gains from not letting humanitarian aid come in and
Well,
give.
they actually collect it so that they can use it. Hold on, let me find my notes because now we've changed subjects. I've got the right note work, and I feel bad because you didn't have time to prepare notes. Like, I do kind of feel bad for that.
That's all good.
So I'm not trying to be. Okay, so like for instance, from the river to the sea, Hamas's whole charter is to disintegrate Israel and has been since 1988. So do you agree that genocide is bad?
I do agree genocide is bad, and dissolving Israel would not be genocide. Dissolving Israel would be the same thing as getting rid of.
From the river to the sea is not necessarily just dissolving Israel; it's killing every Jewish person in Israel.
That seems like a pretty big stretch. It says from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. That doesn't say any, go kill all Jews. That there's nowhere in there that says that.
Explicitly calls for Israel destruction until Islam will obliterate it. Glorifies jihad and includes classic anti-Semitic tropes, including a hadith about Muslim killing Jews hiding behind rocks and trees. It frames the conflict as religious, not just territorial. That's the original charter from 1998 or 1998.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
So, but that's their charter. It's not about hearing that. They literally want to genocide the Jews. You just said that that's not what they want to do, but that's literally in their charter. Everything I just said is in their charter. The original charter, not the new charter that they started in 2017, that they softened in language for PR, but did not renounce the original goals and rejected Israel's legitimacy and maintained liberation from the river to the sea.
So yeah, so once again, like I'm not gonna support. I don't want anyone to die. I don't want anyone to get killed. I don't want to see that. I especially don't want my tax dollars going to things like that. But
I agree with the tax dollars. because we can both agree that the United States government does absolutely nothing to earn money except take it from the people that earn it in the country. We can agree on that, right?
You just described class consciousness. You sound like you're a socialist saying that. That's beautiful.
I sound however I sound, sir.
But yeah, so Hamas did put that in their original charter. I mean, yeah, they shouldn't have said we want to kill all Jews, but also I can see and when I say I can see, I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm not remotely anti-Semitic. I'm not anti anyone. But a group of people who have been harassed, oppressed, and abused by another group, would you blame a black person during slavery if they were like, I want to kill all white people? Would you blame them?
Not at all.
Exactly.
Not at all.
So why would we blame Palestinians for saying that about Jewish people when Jewish people have been oppressing them like that? Obviously we should not equate all Jews with Israelis, but that is all they know. And so and as go on.
So would you also, do you know that of the Israeli population, 55% are actually direct descendants and not part of what everyone's talking point is that all the Jews in Israel left Israel, went to Europe, got kicked out of Europe, and came back to Israel. But 55% of the Israelis that are in Israel right now, their descendants never left that land any different than the Palestinian descendants didn't leave either. So can we agree that 55% of Israel, if those numbers are true, and we all understand how numbers get skewed, it could be 25%, it could be 75%, but 55% of the Jews that live in Israel, their family never left that land, that they have a right or a claim to it.
I'm sorry, say that last bit one more time.
That they have a right or a claim to that land, no different than the Palestinians.
I mean, so I think the right to whatever at this point has become muddied. I mean, because Israelis have lived there for a while now. So I mean, what?
55% of the lineage never left.
Yeah. So when Israel was created, they actually they incentivized Jews from other parts of the Middle East to come to Israel. I mean, it wasn't just white European Jews. It was founded by white European Jews, but they did incentivize Jews from other parts.
So as you say, white European Jews are are you aware of the Bahar? It was a DNA test where 100% of Ashkenazi Jews have 30 to 60% of the heritage of the lineage from that area. So when you say white European Jews, it makes it sound like, oh, well, these are just some people. You kind of sound like you're talking about the Kaza Jews, which has actually been fully debunked, not by Jewish people either. I understand that's usually the next argument. Well, a Jew proved that a Jew didn't do it. It wasn't done by Jews. The Bahar actually proves through genetic research, and I have it down to DNA. I have it. I don't know if you can see. Oh, it's just disappearing. But I have it down to DNA that 100% of Ashkenazi Jews have 30 to 60% genetic DNA to that region.
Okay. That's cool.
And that was done in 2013. As a matter of fact, the Kazakh Jews, which is what. Go ahead.
This is a bit. I mean, yeah. I mean, this is a bit or not really anecdotal, but I mean, I actually did 23andMe recently. I'm 50% Spanish, 50% Spanish. So if me and a bunch of other 50% Spaniards just shipped on down to Spain, and was like, yeah, we were here 200 years ago. This is our stuff now. Do you think that's valid because I'm 50% Spanish?
Is that you decided to, or you were kicked out of everywhere else?
So you're saying that these Jews from Europe got kicked out? Is that what you're saying?
There's a whole goddamn excuse the language. There's a whole I don't know 6 million Jews killed by Germany. Yeah. There's the fact that they were kicked out of Britain, they were kicked out of France, they were kicked out of multiple countries for whatever reason.
So from the reason,
where were they supposed to go?
So from the decent amount of research I've done on Israel previously, just like before even this, I was aware this conversation was going to happen. From what I've
Yeah.
read, um, Israel was founded by somewhat white supremacist, or I should say Jewish supremacist Jews, and they actually looked at Holocaust survivor Jews as like weak. They didn't want those type of Jews to necessarily be in Israel because they saw those type of Jews as weak. They did allow them to come because they needed more people for the project of Israel. But I mean, yeah, like a lot of Jews definitely. I mean, yeah, because the world was very anti-Semitic, right? I'm not like trying to say like, oh, Jews just had like the easiest life ever. But once
Or that
again,
they just chose to go someplace. They just had nowhere to go.
I mean, they had plenty of places to go. They wanted.
Where?
I mean, I mean, literally anywhere. Like they weren't getting the only place that was genociding them was Germany. Obviously, people were treating them like trash, but they
Yeah,
could.
but they were kicked out of multiple countries. Britain kicked them out in like the fucking 1500s.
I mean, there's still Jews in Britain now. There's
There
Jews
are
in all over.
now. There's lots of people in
Mm.
modern world
So yeah,
because
they
we
didn't.
all understand that kicking people out because of their ethnicity is wrong.
Oh,
Now,
so do we agree that we shouldn't be kicking out Mexicans from the country now? Like,
well,
should we
that
abolish ICE?
depends.
Should we abolish ICE?
Did you come into the country legally? Because there's a lot of Mexicans that came into the country legally that are fully in on the same side as ICE.
Do you think all those Jews went into Britain legally? But also besides that, like I mean, ICE is kicking out people that are like have legal status. My
There,
friend.
there, there is not one instance of somebody that is a legal American citizen that has been kicked out.
Well, I'm talking about legal status. Like my friend's dad actually got deported a few months ago in December, and he had a work
Did he
visa.
overstay it?
No, they literally just renewed it. It was good until 2030, and they deported him. And actually, him and his mom had to sell everything and move to Mexico to be with him. But yeah, yeah, and that's like a completely different thing. But yeah, but my friend's dad, he got deported or he got taken up by state trooper because he was like speeding or something, and they asked for his papers, showed his work permit. They sent him to ICE. I said he didn't care. He was in a detention center for about a month, and then they shipped him to Mexico.
So there are bad representatives in any situation, in any sort of thing that's going on right now. Would we agree that the Joe Biden administration shouldn't have allowed so many people to just freely walk across the border?
The Joe Biden administration didn't allow any other people more than any other administration prior to Trump did. I mean,
That's not true. But I mean, I don't want to be on hardline talking points.
and listen, I love talking. Fuck Joe Biden. Can we unite on that?
Well,
We can
Fuck
agree
Joe
there.
Biden.
at
Yeah.
least we can agree there. But you know, when you're talking, you did say something that kind of struck a nerve, not like a legitimate nerve, like we can't be friends later. But like Joe Biden administration allowed 4 times the amount of illegal immigrants to cross the southern border, not at port of entries, than any other administration.
Hmm. Okay.
And that's going by the numbers according to the Biden administration. And we can both agree that every administration lies, even the Maga administration. And this is Ultra Maga Nation. So, like, even every administration lies to some fucking degree to make themselves sound better. And by their own numbers, by just the numbers, the Biden administration allowed 4 times the amount of illegal immigrants into the country than any other administration ever.
Hmm. Okay. And so when we say that Joe Biden allowed this, did he like pass
Not Joe
legislation?
Biden. I said the Biden administration. I
Okay,
understand.
well, yeah. So yeah, the Biden administration. So when the Biden administration did this, did they make legislation to make it easier for illegals to cross the border? Like, what was the decision that made it to where Joe Biden made these illegals come, and not just there was an influx of illegals coming into the country at that specific time?
So why do we not have the same influx of illegals now?
Because we have a
Because
terrorist
there's a
organization.
hardline stance that we're not going to allow it, where that administration was like, nah, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair. But also like I mean, this is also just the topic where like I mean, I don't have issues with people coming in legally or illegally if they're coming
And
to work.
honestly, I don't expect you to, because according to the Communist Manifesto, there is no borders. So I don't expect you to have the same idea of border control that I do.
Mhm.
Like, and that's not a dig or a knock.
Because
Like,
because
I
every because every quote unquote illegal immigrant I've ever met, they're extremely hard workers. I mean, like my friend I just told you, his father was in charge of a tiling company while they were here.
that was
Yeah,
a legal immigrant with a work visa, according to you. So let's give
yeah.
him the due that he has.
I mean, but legally, illegally, I mean that it's a piece of paper. I mean, the legal immigrants come in.
It is a piece of
The
paper.
the people who worked for his tiling company were all illegals, and they were all very hardworking people.
Can we agree that liberals are racist?
Yeah, because they're capitalists, just like as conservatives are.
Yeah, but I mean, I didn't see any conservatives out here talking about there's not going to be anybody picking my produce or cleaning my bathrooms.
I'm sorry. What are you saying? What do you mean?
There wasn't any conservatives talking. Well, if we deport all the people that are quote unquote
Mhm.
illegal immigrants, there's not going to be anybody picking my
Yeah. Yeah, no, liberals are racist. Yeah, I don't like liberals. Liberals are capitalists, they're racist. Liberals just want they're like, "Oh, we want billionaires, but it's okay if like some of the billionaires are black or gay or a woman, you know?" Like they do a bunch of like
And I swear to God, you and I could probably have a drink somewhere, even though we don't completely fucking agree.
That's because believe it or not, you guys are so close to class consciousness. You guys just have a little hang-ups where like y'all are defending billionaires for some reason. Liberals suck. I hate liberals. Liberals pretend to be progressive. They're
Yep.
not. They're completely fake. They agree with they
They
agree with
pander. They
yeah.
pander to whatever way they can grab a vote. So that's amazing. Even though I still like I told you at the very start, communism on paper works. The problem is, in my opinion, when we put somebody in some sort of power of absolution, they absolutely take that to the brain. And
And that's what the billionaires are doing right now.
humans are flawed. Like we are all flawed. That's the problem. At the end of the day, the fuck. If I was in complete control, I would probably be some sort of Negan-esque style. Did you watch The Walking Dead?
I stopped watching The Walking Dead after the prison.
Same.
Did you see?
Same.
So you don't know who Negan is? Anyway,
I do know who Negan is. I don't
I
know much
would be
about
some
him.
style of Negan-esque style warlord. Anytime you give an individual who has flaws complete power, and that is why I like the fact that America is a constitutional republic. Because at the end of the day, we're supposed to revert back to a piece of paper written by a bunch of 18 to 21-year-olds or 28-year-olds, I think it is. Because the founding fathers weren't 30s and 40s, they were 18 to 28. The people that wrote the paperwork that this country is designed on, I agree with. I agree with the First Amendment. I agree with the Second Amendment, the Third, the Fourth, and the Fifth Amendment. I agree with all of that. I like the fact that we're a constitutional republic versus a full blown democracy. And most people don't even understand that we're not a democracy.
I'm aware we're not a democracy.
I,
It's a democracy for the elite, but yeah.
that like I get where you're trying to head with the billionaires. I still have like let's say
No,
like
billionaires control everything. They control
what
everything in our country.
I mean I don't necessarily disagree, but at the end of the day, what amount of money are you allowed to have in the current capitalistic system that we're sitting
You're asking I mean,
in your
I
opinion?
I
Your
mean,
opinion.
uh-huh. I mean, I honestly couldn't tell you what like the limit is for someone to own. It's not my concern isn't with the limit of what someone owns. My concern is to make sure that people aren't starving, people aren't like living paycheck to paycheck, renting for the rest of their lives. People, I don't care if someone's a millionaire if that means as long as everyone else like isn't gonna die from cancer or have to spend $30,000 on their cancer treatment. I don't care if someone's a millionaire if someone like has their own if everyone has a fair or a decent chance to own a home. Like it's not like I'm just terrified of someone
So a
having
fair
money.
chance. So for the people that are out there that don't give a fuck about working and just want to live off the government, like that's a problem for you too.
That's yeah, no, socialists don't want that. Socialists don't believe in just like giving someone something for the sake of giving it to them. A core socialist principle is giving someone the value of the labor that they produce. If one does not produce labor, they don't produce value. So why? So yeah, no, it's not. the whole handouts thing is, and I'm not trying to be an asshole, but that's just complete like capitalist propaganda. No socialist or communist is interested in just giving free handouts.
So we got a vet in the chat bringing up a point that illegals get free health care, whereas he's a veteran and he got a bill for $14,000 for a kidney stone.
Yeah, he shouldn't get a bill for $14,000. Also, illegals don't
Okay.
get free. Illegals don't get free healthcare. That's just not true. But the illegals don't
I've
get.
seen a lot of reports they do.
I've also seen,
And I've seen reports that Hamas is putting their missiles under hospitals. We see reports of a bunch of stuff, but illegal immigrants are not getting free healthcare. That's if we're not getting.
I mean, touche, sir, touche.
We're illegals are not getting free healthcare. But I completely agree. A vet should be getting free healthcare. We all should be getting free healthcare. We live in the richest country in the world.
Your point, isn't it?
It's absolutely.
It's very much so your point.
It's insane that we are the richest country in the world and we can't even give people doctor appointments or eye appointments. It's absurd.
Yeah,
and yeah,
let me revert back to semi-socialist countries. Like, here's my problem with socialistic medicine. Just full disclosure, okay? You have somebody at some point that the 78-year-old doesn't deserve a heart because he's lived his life.
Say that. I'm sorry.
The 78-year-old doesn't deserve a heart because he's lived his life.
Are you saying that, or are people saying that?
That's not just me saying that. That's actually socialist countries. The people like in England that have socialized medicine.
Mm-hmm.
That have to
England isn't socialist. They're not.
No, but they do have socialized medicine.
If we're going to be that broad, the United States has socialized medicine. It's not very good.
I mean, I disagree with you there. Other than in America, you're not allowed to decline service.
Well, we have the. Well, I mean, prior to Trump, we had the universal or
Obamacare.
Obamacare.
Yeah. The biggest cost on the American taxpayer. Yes, we do have that.
Yeah, we had Obamacare. It was a very half-baked trying to give people healthcare, but we can't actually give them free healthcare because now it'd be bad for the big pharma. So I mean, if we're gonna be that broad, I mean, we have socialized medicine, kind of. Britain's socialized medicine is not socialized. It's just like I think that's too generic to call it socialized. That's just my opinion.
And that's fine. That's fair. I don't know enough about British healthcare to have an in-depth conversation.
It's like saying. I'm sorry.
Read some stuff. Go ahead.
It's like saying the United States is socialist because we have Social Security. Like because that is a
socialist program. I agree with you 100% there.
But obviously, we're not socialist.
We're not socialists, and I guess it still boils and backs back down to the fact that, number one, do you want to be on another episode? Because this has been fucking great. Like having conversation with you, and I'd like to give you time to prepare where you didn't have time today because your work overlapped. I hope you make a livable wage, all jibs aside. Did I lose you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was muted. What's it called? Yeah, I'm down to go on another stream, and I did say I did not make a livable wage right now, but I'm lucky enough to be supported by my family currently.
So what job do you do, if you don't mind me asking, if I'm not encroaching?
Well, actually, what's it called? So when I said I just got home from work, I actually, because I was using my phone to type to you, and for some reason, like my because I was like using text to speech because I was driving, it just wouldn't pick up school, so I put work. But I'm currently just in school. I'm currently just in school right now. I've been unemployed for about 4 months, 5 months. I was working at a parking garage, but most of my job experience is as a waiter.
So I'm less worried about you teaching children now than I was when we were talking in our text thing, because you do sound like you have somewhat of a square head, although I still don't agree with the full communistic, only because it's never worked. Like if you could give me an example where communism has worked to the T, and I know you go back to the free market and there's no country without the free market that can live and so on and so forth. I don't mean to belittle, but at the end of the day, like you do have China backing any communist country that's out there. And China is the largest producer of useless shit. That's why we make the Chinesium joke on anything that can be made.
So you're asking me for a example of communism working? I mean, yeah, no country has ever become communist. I mean, there's not an example of communism failing or succeeding because no countries are. If we're gonna be nerds about it, I mean, but if we're talking about like if we want to talk about the successes of communists trying to make the life of their country better, we can look at the Soviet Union. When the Soviet Union became socialist, they I believe prior to the Soviet Union, the literacy rates was like 10% or something, and within a couple decades it went up to like 95%. Basically any country that goes into socialism, life expectancy goes up, literacy rates
Life
go up.
expectancy goes up with time, so I'm not going to give you life expectancy. I'm not going to take
No,
literacy.
but I'm saying an extremely fast like rate. Obviously life expectancy is going up everywhere because of like innovations and things like
Medical
that.
advancements,
Yes.
innovation, all of that.
But
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 some of those innovations can only be thanked because of capitalism, because people that are getting paid for those out of the box ideas, where communism kind of stymies and slows down industrial growth.
Well, because the way that we look at it with socialism and communism is like capitalism is very good for industrial growth. It is good for industrialization. Ask any socialist, like they will say capitalism has its functions. Like, yeah, it creates an abundance of goods very quickly. It helps countries industrialize. But it gets to a point where it's I'm trying to think of like a good example. Like this is a bad comparison, but it's like saying like I don't hate bread makers. You know, they make bread really, really quickly, but it gets to a point where I have thousands of like 5,000 bread, and I own 5,000 bread, and I'm not giving it to anyone because I'm just making bread. Like we have to transition to something else, you know.
I mean, and I get where you're going, but at the end of the day, in every communist attempt, now, do I agree? Like, I guess what I'm saying is communism works small scale. It just doesn't seem so far in history to work large scale.
Yeah,
Like
not yet.
if there's a group of farmers that live next to a group of builders that live next to a group of, I don't know, fucking energy producers. I'm just using examples. And I as a farmer can give you eggs, and you as a builder can build me a barn, and the energy producer as an energy producer can create energy, then we can all three work in a system. But
Yes.
large scale is the problem.
Yeah,
Large
you're
scale is where it always fails.
what you're describing is, yeah, it is a lot more complicated to do something on a large scale, especially because we live in a world where once again where a majority of the world is capitalist. And I'm not saying that because I'm saying that because literally, like, can we agree that capitalists and communists are at odds? Like, we disagree on many topics. Capitalist, communist, ideological oddities. Can we agree at that?
Excuse me, sorry, that fucking slipped out. Like seriously though, what have we disagreed so much on?
Well, I personally don't
We
think you're a
both like
capitalist.
we both like limited government. Am I correct on both statements? On
I,
both of us liking limited government.
I like the limitations of capitalist governments.
So you like limited government?
I like limited government that is controlled by billionaires and capitalists. Yes.
No, I fuck billionaires.
No.
Fuck millionaires.
No.
At the end
You're
of the
asking
day,
me. You're asking me my
like
stance.
beyond what America is right now, like beyond what your point is, which I understand your point. We both think government fucks things up when they put their hands in it. Am I in agreement or disagreement with you?
I don't think government inherently fucks things up. I think I don't agree with the authoritarian government of rich people. I don't agree with the authoritarian government of billionaires. I do agree with the authoritarian government of workers and people who actually contribute to society. I don't agree with the authoritarian rule
Yeah,
of
but the people that
capitalists.
actually contribute to society aren't part of government.
Exactly, that's the problem. I want them to be.
Like for instance, can we agree that the founding documents, the way they were written in America, could have worked if they weren't controlled, in your opinion and mine, by billionaires?
Well, so back then, obviously, they weren't billionaires, but the American Revolution is a bit interesting because the American Revolution is not like was not obviously not a socialist revolution. It wasn't a communist. The American Revolution was a revolution of rich people, obviously not. I mean, I guess like their day billionaires, but the American Revolution was a revolution by extremely rich people because in America because they were tired of Britain like wanting their taste. They
They
got
were
tired. They
tired
got
of the 3% tea tax.
yeah, they got tired of Britain exploiting them, and they wanted to keep exploiting other people, but they got tired of so like the American Revolution was just rich people and like market owners like just being tired of like being the middleman in between. Like they wanted to be the top dog, so like yeah. And what was your question again? I'm sorry.
Okay, so what I'm asking you, okay, so take this is probably too broad of a fucking statement, but take all of the people out of it. The piece of paper that this country was founded on, can we agree that the statements in that are very good statements?
Most of them are pretty broad and okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Are they bad? Are they good? Are they
Yeah. No.
terrible?
Yeah. I mean,
Are
yeah.
they
They're
okay?
fine.
Like, is that a good piece of paper? Because I guess my issue with a democracy, very specific, is mob rule. If
Mhm.
51% of the people decide that you don't get a fucking piece of bread tomorrow in a democracy, then
Mhm.
you don't get a piece of bread tomorrow. Like,
Mhm.
that's bad.
Okay.
So we have a set of limitations that was originally designed to limit the government from being able to overstep. Because in America, and we are one of the few countries, if not the only country out there, that the government is supposed to work for the people, not the people working for the government.
Okay. We can say that that's what it is.
No,
Uh,
that's what I said. What it's supposed to be.
yeah. Mhm. I
Do
don't
you
think.
agree that that's still good?
Yes, I agree that the government should work for the people, but I don't believe that is the
Yeah,
case, or it's ever been the case.
we're not
Mhm.
arguing on what
Mhm.
it is. We're arguing semantics right now.
Mhm. Okay.
Semantics are there's a piece of paper that says the government's supposed to work for the people. Do
Okay.
we agree that that's a statement?
That is a statement that has been made.
And do we agree that that's the way it should be?
I mean, yeah, I agree that the government should. I mean, that's like the reason why a government is a thing, no? So because I
Not
mean,
that the people work for the government, but the government works for the people.
yes,
Like we agree that. We agree there.
I
Like
agree that
even by the
that.
Communist Manifesto, from what
Mhm.
I've understood and read,
Mhm.
that is the whole point of communism: is the government works for the people.
Mhm. Okay.
Am I wrong?
Well, so I think saying just purely that like the government works for the people, that I think that's a little bit of a disconnect of like the message of communism. The
That's
reason.
why I'm asking. I'm
Mhm.
trying
Yeah.
to understand your point of view.
So like under communism, the government would work for the people, but that's because the people would be the government. Like under communism, the workers would own the means of production, the workers would own the factories, would own the businesses, the workers would own everything to where like they're getting their fair share of the labor that they produce. So I mean, yeah, and yes, under communism, the government would work for the people, but that's because the people are the government. It's not there's no government class.
So if there's no government class, who controls like the military, for instance?
Well, I believe under communism we wouldn't need a military because we wouldn't
But
be
we
in.
live in a world where you do
Mhm.
need a military, so
Yeah,
I'm trying to understand. Like this isn't a gotcha moment. I'm not
yeah.
trying to hook you to get into a gotcha bitch moment like Dave
Mhm,
Chappelle says. I'm
mhm,
truly trying to understand. Like I'm asking you legitimate questions. I'm
mhm.
not setting you up for the gotcha moment. I'm not sitting here going, "Oh, I'm gonna get him," and then I'm gonna be like, "Gotcha, bitch! Capitalism's better." I really am just asking legitimate questions.
Okay.
So you're one of the first people that actually sounds like they've studied communism that I'm trying to understand.
Mhm,
Because by my lame brain of understanding communism, what I look at is the USSR, which ends up in gulags and still using capitalism, and I'm more doing this for the audience and some for my own understanding and intelligence, because you don't sound like a stupid smart person. Does that make sense? Like, you sound like somebody that's a smart person, and you followed into something that you believe in. So I really am trying to pick your brain right now. I'm not doing a gotcha moment.
Okay. So what was the question?
So fuck. If you do, I went so fucking far deep in explaining that I
No,
wasn't
it's
trying to fuck you over on a
that's
gotcha
okay. That's
that
okay.
I lost where the fuck I was headed.
We were
Um,
talking about you say something about the military.
Okay, so in the current world, like, we have to have a military, and it's not necessarily that. Like, I don't. First off, I don't believe that America should be playing world police.
Agreed.
I don't think that's our fucking job
That
as
is what
America.
that is what America has historically always done, though, and we keep
Yeah,
trying to meddle with other people's countries.
it absolutely is, and we're not going to disagree there.
So
So, who would control the military in a communist country? And you got into a tangent, and I don't say that in a negative annotation. You got into a tangent that there wouldn't need to be a military. So I'm saying, like, in the current structure of the world, if we're not, like, for instance, America produces everything it needs internally to run as a country.
are you saying like that's true? I don't know if that's. I don't think we produce everything we need. I'm pretty
We're
sure
the
we.
largest producer of energy. We produce more oil and natural gas than any country than the top two manufacturers of oil and natural gas. We have any resource that we need, with the exception of some rare earths that are now becoming a bigger problem. We
Okay.
were the largest steel producer. Like, America could survive on its own if it stopped looking for cheap labor. Can we agree with that?
Say that last question one more time. Sorry, I was looking something up.
America could survive on its own if it wasn't looking for cheap labor. Go lay down. Sorry, I'm
If it
yelling at my
wasn't
dogs.
looking for cheap labor.
That's what America's looking for. That's what the influx in illegal immigration has always been about is cheap labor.
Well, so do you have an issue with cheap labor?
I have an issue with the exploitation of people.
Yeah, I agree. And if we
So cheap labor is the exploitation of people, and you as a communist are talking about living wages, but most of the illegal immigrants that we bring in, we pay fucking half of what you would have made last year. And at less
yeah, I agree. We shouldn't be paying anyone that much. I mean, illegal immigrants who come in here should be paid a livable wage
and once again,
if they're going to work.
borders, which is where we have another disconnect.
I mean,
But
I believe in borders, right? Like I know what borders are.
yeah, but at the end of the day, that is one of the dissolutions of communism. It's a dissolution of border. It's a dissolution of government. It's a dissolution of money. Like, there should be no currency according to communism.
Yeah, and just because like I know that those are communist principles doesn't mean that I live in like a fantasy land where I'm like there's no borders and there's no like obviously I'm not like I'm not what are those people who like say I'm a citizen of the world or
You're
whatever?
not a sovereign
Sovereign
citizen.
citizen.
Yeah, I'm not a sovereign citizen. Like obviously I am aware of borders, I am aware of territory for countries. And yeah, if we're talking about cheap labor, like I mean if you don't like cheap labor, I don't know how you can call yourself a capitalist because
Well, that's
capitalists love
exploitation,
cheap
and
labor.
I don't believe in exploitation.
If you don't believe in exploitation, you should not be calling yourself a communist or I mean, I'm sorry, a capitalist because capitalists love exploitation. Like once again, to become a billionaire, to become rich under capitalism, you have to exploit your workers. You have to exploit the people working under
Okay,
you.
so I do look at the stair step, which this is where I believe we have the disconnect with the difference between what I believe capitalism and communism is and what you believe capitalism and communism is. So I always like to go to the NFL because everybody says nobody should be paid millions of dollars to play a game. But at the end of the day, if I make you billions, I expect millions. And if I make you millions, I expect hundreds of thousands. And if I make you hundreds of thousands, I expect tens of thousands. And if I make you tens of thousands, I expect thousands. And if I make you thousands, I expect hundreds. So that is what I look at right there when I say what I'm saying.
Once again, I feel like you're like so close. So like yeah, I will say I don't think that anyone should be paid millions or billions of dollars, like I've said before, when there's people homeless, when there's people impoverished, yada yada yada. But I mean, NFL players, basketball players, they are workers. They are providing value. They are giving the NBA, the NFL so much value in people watching, paying money to go to NBA games for sponsorships, things like that. So I mean, yes, they are being paid way too much, I think, but the only reason why they're being paid that much is because the market allows it to, and there is a
Because
market
they're
for it.
being supported. There
Yes,
are
and
people buying
so I'm
$350 jerseys
yeah,
and all of that stuff. Like they're being supported by the American people because the American people are paying for the objects, be it season ticket holders, be it whatever that's making the owner billions.
but can we agree that there's no like teacher who's getting paid 40K a year who's a season ticket
Because
holder,
there's
right?
no American support behind that teacher. As a matter of fact, that's part of the argument that I have when I listen to like the white suburban mom that's like, oh my God, I don't think that football players should make millions, but teachers should only make 35,000. Well, the American support is behind the football player. They have, I paid $350 per ticket. I'm wearing my $300 jersey. I paid $17 for a beer. I paid $18 for a hot dog.
But
Like
the
that
but
is the
the, mhm.
capitalist in me right there. If
so
you're
so
willing to
mhm,
buy all of those items to support that team, why
mhm,
shouldn't that man, the face of the franchise,
mhm.
make millions of dollars when he's making billions of dollars for the owner?
I agree. We should not be upset with the NBA or NFL player for making that much money. We should be upset with the system that allows for things like that to even happen. I don't think someone should be like obviously since the NFL, the NBA makes so much money. Yes, I think the players should be paid a lot because they are the workers. Without the San Antonio Spurs, no one's gonna watch the coach just like talk. Like they
Yes,
need the workers. they
exactly.
need they need the players. So as long as this value that they are creating is being generated, yes, they should be paid that much. I personally just don't think there should be a system to where that happens, to where people are making billions of dollars off of
Which
someone playing a
believes
game.
in the communist system where you should cut out money. Am I understanding that correctly?
Well, it's we're not
Because if
like
there was no money,
mhm,
if money wasn't a thing, which is one of the
mhm,
things that the Communist Manifesto says is what the end game on the utopia is. Am I
mhm.
incorrect on that?
Well, so excuse me, when there's no currency or money in a society, like that's not our end goal just purely because like we hate money or something. It's just that the goal of a communist is that the class divides become so small and that everyone's needs are so met that money becomes unnecessary. There would
It
literally
becomes
be no
irrelevant.
reason for money. Yeah, it'd be
Yes,
irrelevant. It's not that
I
we hate. It's
understand
not
that.
that we hate money or we're scared of money. It's just that we want people's
I
lives to
don't
become
think you're scared of money.
yeah,
I
no,
don't
no, I'm
think.
just saying that for the audience, or someone
Okay,
like just trying to
okay.
I'm just trying to be very hyperbolic to like
I
we're
got you. I got you. I
we're
love it.
we're not we don't hate money. It's just that what we want would make it to where money would become irrelevant.
But at the end of the day, the conversation point that I hear from the white suburban moms is, hey, my teacher should make more money than the NFL player or the NBA ball player. But
I don't
the
know if
NFL
anyone's saying
player,
more than that. I don't know if anyone's saying teachers should be paid more than an NFL player. I think they're just
no, no,
saying they
no,
should.
not
Mhm,
necessarily more like the teacher should
mhm.
make millions and the NBA ball player should make 50,000. But like if the NFL player makes millions, the teacher should make millions, which I don't necessarily disagree with the concept. But the problem is the American dollar chases one thing. And so my common response is, well, did you go buy a teacher a tablet? Like you bought a $350 jersey for your favorite team, but what did you buy your favorite teacher?
Um, but like when you pay like $300 for a or whatever you said for a jersey, like that, the money from that jersey doesn't go to the player; it goes to like the owner
No,
of
but that's
the
why
team.
that player can earn millions of dollars and
Mhm.
doesn't earn
Well,
30,000.
because I mean, teaching isn't like it's who's gonna. No one's going on TV to watch like someone teach
So
sixth
once
grade
again, the
math.
American people are dictating what is getting paid more because they're paying more attention to LeBron than they are their son or daughter's English teacher.
Yes, the NBA is more entertaining than like teaching long division. This is true, and obviously more people are going to want to watch that instead of like a teacher. But that doesn't mean that that teacher should. And when people say, "Oh, teachers should be paid more," they're not saying, "Oh, teachers should be paid more so they can like buy the greatest, buy Gucci." They're just saying, "Hey, like it's hard to live. Teachers don't get paid enough to live. Like they should be able to have a livable wage."
So then we both agree that shutting down what's the American acronym for the what they shut down for the school systems? So let
Um,
me ask you this: do you believe that states should run things, or that the United States should run things?
I think it kind of depends. I mean, like I've said before, I don't
Federal
think.
government or the
Mhm.
state government? Like,
Well, so. Mhm.
are we the United America, or are we the United States of America?
I mean, we're called the United States of America.
No,
I'm
what do
like,
you believe should be is what I'm asking.
yeah. I mean, states' rights. I mean, I personally think states' rights hinders good things. I think states' rights helps with good
We
things.
disagree there, but
Um,
that's fair. Like, we can have disagreements. That's
but
fair.
so I think you, or at least from what I'm understanding, like, would you say that you're just completely blank face anti big government? That's what
I
you
am
said before.
very anti big government.
Okay. I am, and once again, I'm gonna sound like a broken record. I am anti-government that is run by billionaires, that is run by capitalists, that is run by the elite. I have no problem with governments that are run by the workers, run by socialists, things like that. I'm not just blank face anti-government. I'm anti-government of what is currently the status quo. So I don't have
So I
a.
honestly think that right there, we're kind of the same.
Mhm.
He's so close to being capitalism, man.
Like,
Capitalism.
and you say because immediately you're like putting up the hand, but like, hear me out. I am anti big government, whether that's because big government is run by billionaires or whether that's because big government's run by idiots. Like, when I see any form of big government, what I see is something that's fucking up what little local government, what state government could do. Because when I see big government, what I see is overreach. And I am definitely not a sovereign citizen. I am not one of those people that says, I don't have to have a driver's license. I don't have to have a, whatever, a registration on my car or any of that. Like, I understand the points and the process behind that. Having a driver's license proves that you're intelligent enough to operate a motor vehicle. Having registration on a vehicle, make sure that it's not stolen. Like, I'm not no government. I'm little government. The problem is when I look at any time there's a big, broad overreach of government, what I see is multiple failures. And it might be because it's run by billionaires. I'm not discrediting what you're saying. What I am saying is every variation of large government that I see fails.
So we're just anti-government at all. Maybe you're an anarchist then.
No, I don't believe in anarchy because at the end of the day, in anarchy, if I want to walk up and put a gun to your forehead and blow your brains out, I can do that.
I mean, big government's telling me that murder is illegal. I don't know. That's big
So state
government.
government. State
Mhm.
government also says that murder is illegal. So does local legislation. I can't in the city I live in just beating the dog shit out of somebody because I decide that's okay. Like, just because I'm bigger and stronger doesn't mean that I should win.
Mhm. Okay, so, and I'm sorry. Like, is there a question or
No,
what?
my
Mhm.
question is, what part of government are
Mhm.
like you sat here and said that you're not against big government. You said
Mhm.
you're against billionaires controlling the government.
Mhm.
But it doesn't matter what direction we look at, even if it's communist, Lenin was, by all fucking conversation points, at that point, a billionaire. Maybe not a billionaire, maybe a couple 100,000-aire, but Lenin controlled most of the money. So in your own conversation points, you're against Lenin.
So Lenin did not own like the state owned a lot of things, and Lenin was a part of the state, but Lenin was not like the evil dictator of the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union was ran by multiple committees. The Soviet Union was ran by multiple teams. Lenin obviously was the head of the party that ran the Soviet Union, but no, Lenin did not personally own huge amounts of wealth. The state did, and the state decided what to do with it. And then
who controlled the state?
The Communist Party of Russia.
And who was in control of the Communist Party of Russia?
Multiple communist leaders of
Lenin.
the party.
Lenin was in control of the Communist Party of Russia. At the end of the
That's
day,
that's like saying Obama.
It's not long division.
That's like saying Trump owns everything in the United States because he's the president of the United States.
That's not like saying that, because there's checks and balances that prevent Trump.
And there was checks and balances.
So explain those. Explain the checks and balances that prevented Lenin from saying, "Hey, you're going to the gulag, and I now control what your business does."
I can look up like names of committees for the Soviet Union.
That's not what I asked.
What are you asking?
Explain what prevented him from walking into a business and going, "You're going to the gulag, and now the state or the country runs what you own."
What's stopping
because
ICE?
That happened in lots of communist countries. You even have conversation now where there's many McDonald's in Russia that have a completely different name and moniker because the Russian government walked in and said, and who controls the Russian government currently?
Putin.
Okay, so at the end of the day,
and his oligarch.
And then who controlled the USSR?
The Communist Party.
Lenin controlled the USSR. He was the leading de facto leader of the Communist Party of the United Soviet.
Lenin had zero interest. Lenin had zero interest in being a dictator.
We're not talking about his interests. We're talking about his power.
So he was forced to be the person who owned everything in the Soviet Union?
He wasn't forced. He chose.
But I just said he had no interest. Like Lenin had an interest in making the workers have the power and everything. Lenin.
So why didn't they?
Because
why didn't it work?
Well, because think about it. Like, say, like after. So to give an example, like after the.
Because that was an industrialized Russia. That was a Russia that just followed and ended in World War II. And World War II is what pulled America out of the Great Depression. Russia was one of our best allies in World War II. Am I wrong?
Later into the war, because actually, in the beginning of the war, the Soviet
they were pro-fascist. You're absolutely correct.
And that's actually. That's an interesting story because it's not just like black and white that they're pro-fascist. The Soviet Union did it was like an anti-violence treaty. I can't remember the exact word, but it wasn't like, oh, like we're gonna like team up together. Like the Soviet Union purposely did that with Russia, did an violence treaty because they needed time to industrialize and make a military. When that happened, the Soviet Union did not really have a military at all, and they figured that Germany would go in and screw them over, and they were kind of right because Germany invaded them anyway, even though they had that treaty. I'm sorry, what were we talking about before? That was kind of a random tangent.
We were talking about the fact that Lenin did control Russia.
So once again, saying Lenin controlled Russia is like saying Obama controlled the United States or the president of Mexico controls all of Mexico. Obviously,
Obama does control Mexico.
She doesn't control all of Mexico.
Absolutely. No, you're right. The cartels control Russia or control Mexico.
I agree with that.
Is like if we want to bring up that's another tangent. I'm not even trying to get into the whole.
I don't want to keep talking in circles. My hard position is Lenin did not control all of the Soviet Union. I think that's a ridiculous claim to make. Just like when Stalin came in charge after Lenin, Stalin was not in charge of all of the Soviet Union. There were committees, there were groups in the party that had say in positions of power.
And why did they have the power to do that? Who allowed them to have that power?
Themselves after the revolution.
Stalin allowed them to have that power.
Okay.
So by allowing them to have that power, he has the full right and control to say you no longer have the power, which is what ended up tearing the USSR apart.
Well, what tore the USSR apart was that they weren't transitioning into socialism very efficiently, and it got to a point to where
Nobody has ever transitioned into socialism very efficiently. No
this is true.
country ever has
And
done that.
this is true, and but can we say that, to be fair, like and this is just true, the Soviet Union was the first country to ever try to implement socialism, and this was this was about 100 years ago. Like
I don't have the intelligence on whether to agree or disagree with that, so I'm going to take what you say as
okay,
factual.
yeah, and I'm
With
being as
disclosure.
I'm being as truthful as I can be. As far as I'm aware, the Soviet Union was the first country to ever try to transition to socialism. This was completely new ground for the world. Not saying that that makes it to where the
Which
mistake.
makes sense. Karl Marx, all of
Mhm,
that. Like, it makes sense what you're saying. So I'm
mhm.
not disagreeing with you there.
Yes, and so basically what happened after about and around the 80s is that like all the people in positions of power in the Soviet Union were, yeah, it basically did, they kept deteriorating into capitalism to where a majority of people who were in leadership in the Soviet Union realized that they would benefit a lot more if they just switched to straight up capitalism. That's what they did when they broke up the Soviet Union.
So let me interject. You say deteriorating into capitalism, but capitalism is what lifted them out of poverty, the humanitarian bullshit they were dealing with.
Mhm.
Like, they actually needed communism. It's not that they deteriorated back into something that was negative, they went back to something that worked.
No, I mean, like, capitalism, quote unquote, works for the elite. Capitalism is working great for
It
Jeff
worked for
Bezos.
the everyday person, and it literally pulled them out of the hunger issues they were dealing with. It pulled millions of people in the USSR died of hunger while they were
Um,
in the transition to the socialism.
yeah, that's happened. That's happened in a lot of countries that transition from different economic states. But what's it called?
That's
Like,
that's that's an easy statement, and I'm going to hold your feet to the fire to the last statement that you made. You said deteriorated to capitalism,
mhm.
but if they wouldn't have deteriorated to capitalism, even more people would have died. Am I incorrect?
Yes, if they never industrialized, they would have been severely behind the rest of the world. Capitalism helps industrialize a country. That is a good.
So capitalism has a point.
Yeah, yeah, I've said that before. Capitalism has its purpose. It's very good at industrializing. It's very good at creating an abundance of something. The problem is when, like I said before, when we continue with just making abundance for the sake of abundance, it leads to people hoarding
Yeah,
wealth
yeah,
and
yeah,
not.
but you say making abundance like it's a bad thing.
Well, it's a
Having
bad thing. Mhm.
abundance is what prevents people from starving.
But people are still
Having
start.
abundance is why owning a car in America puts you in the top 1% of the world's like that's why I lead with the car. Like, you looked at it earlier, like I was talking about a car because of freeways
Mhm.
and things like that, but at the end of the day, owning a car means that you have more money than 99% of the world's population.
I just,
Be
I just, I just don't think that's a very accurate representation of
No,
people's.
but it's an accurate statement. It
I would.
doesn't.
Well, because I mean, people own cars and are homeless. Like I don't.
They do. They live in cars. You're
Yeah.
absolutely correct. And that still puts them better than people that live in Madagascar or live in um, Iran or live in Afghanistan or live in Iraq or live in, like, that's the point of owning a car, putting you in the top 1%. Do I agree that I wish more people owned houses? And we can have a whole nother conversation on whether companies like BlackRock should own individual single family homes, because I will agree with that statement as well. BlackRock and equity firms should not own single family homes. Like, they're we're not far apart. Like, you say that I'm close to being socially awake or what it is, but I see you being so close to a capitalist.
And so I'm sorry. And so your point, like, what are you trying to make right
It's
here?
the 1% of car ownership that
Hmm.
you have an argument with.
Yeah, I don't think that car ownership is a good measure for whether or not someone's doing well. Because once again, like I would understand if you were
Yeah,
saying
but
that.
you're looking at it as an American.
Yeah, I'm
You're
looking
looking
as
at
an
it as
American.
somebody that owns a
I
car.
I own
Like,
a car.
like
I own
if
a car.
you look at it as the little kid in Mozambique that
Mhm.
has to go to a well and put his little fucking hand on the goddamn thing and run the bucket down and then bring it back up and hope the water's drinkable.
Well,
Yeah, owning a car is fucking spectacular.
yeah, well, the reason why people still live like that is because like countries like ours have no interest in helping them or like trying to
Yeah,
industrialize
but why?
them.
Okay, so you told me earlier you were against America being the world police. Why should we be the world's charity? Like,
Yeah, I'm against the United States meddling with like other countries because we as a capitalist country are only interested in exploiting other workers and colonizing other places. Now, if we were a
what is
socialist,
America trying to colonize?
the entirety of the Middle East.
How? Elaborate further. Please expand.
Well, we have military bases in practically every Middle Eastern country currently.
Why? Why do we have that?
Because we want control over the region. We want to be able to work
Why
with
do
those
we want control over the region?
resources,
Okay, so once again, what resource are we trying to take from the Middle East?
mainly oil.
So we're the largest oil producer. We actually produce more oil and liquid natural gas than the top 2 oil producers in the world. Right now, we make more
So
oil.
wouldn't that make us the top 2 oil producers? What do you mean?
We produce more oil and more liquid gas, natural petroleum
Mhm.
than the top 2 producers in the world combined right now. So if we're interested in their shit, why do we have the capability to produce more?
Because we want more and more. That's what capitalists want.
See, I don't
They
agree
want
with
more and
that.
more.
Elaborate. Why do we want more?
That's like the goal of capitalism is to just keep earning and earning more.
Earning more money. So if we're buying something from another country, how are we earning more?
What do you
Because
mean?
a barrel of oil has a constant
Mhm.
cost no different than an ounce of gold.
Okay.
So if I'm paying for, I don't know, Kuwaiti oil, I don't own Kuwait. We don't control Kuwait. We don't control Iran. That's been obvious over the last couple of weeks. We might be at war with Iran, and we can have a different conversation about why. You think it's because we're trying to control their oil. I think it's because we're trying to shut down their Shahed drone and trying to shut down China's oil consumption. Because if you really want to talk about a capitalistic country, you should be talking about China. Like, why is China buying oil for Iran for $10 a barrel when the world markets is $80 to $90 a barrel? I'll tell you why. Because China is trying to absorb as much as possible. China is actually building more infrastructure in Africa, South America, and a couple other countries than America is. But China's like the shining star, while America is the colonizing capitalist that's just trying to take over stuff. But
Mhm.
China's the one that's actually doing that.
Well, from what I've seen about that, I mean, yeah, like China's like actually investing in these countries, unlike the
They're
United
not
States.
investing, they're trying to put them in debt so that they owe them. It's like a mafioso style control. They were buying
So,
oil from Venezuela because they put Venezuela $110 billion in debt. They weren't just doing that out of kindness. Every
yeah,
barrel
obviously
of
not. Yeah.
oil that China was buying from Venezuela was just a debt marker paid off the fucking board.
Okay.
So, like, China is more the capitalistic, imperialistic country trying to control the
Um.
world than America is. So, I'm
So.
trying to understand the
Mhm.
statements, and it really isn't a gotcha moment. I
Yeah.
really am trying to
Mhm.
understand.
Well, because I mean, yeah, people call China imperialistic as well because of the way that they trade with other countries, and I can see where people come from there. But the difference is, I mean, yeah, China's doing this through trade, China's doing this through debt, whatever. The United States, the way they try to do their imperialism is by having a Jewish ethno state in the Middle East and killing Muslims like all the time for the past like 20, 30 years.
Are we like that's a really easy like like common talking point.
Oh,
But,
it's just what we're doing.
What? Okay, prove it.
Iraq, Afghanistan,
What
Palestine.
about Iraq? We tried to give Iraq back to their own people, and they ended up being taken over by ISIS. So no, and at best you have Afghanistan, which was a 20-year war that we just recently pulled all of our fucking troops out of, and we even
Shittily.
left one of the largest bases, which would have been the smartest thing to keep, because if our questions are on China, then why would we have let them have I can't remember the name of the base, but they took over the base that we built in Afghanistan. We left Afghanistan. We
So
left Iraq.
What
The only thing you have is that we're allies with Israel, and being an ally with somebody and providing them with munitions is not trying to control the Middle East, especially when we're leaving countries that we could have colonized and controlled.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, Israel was just a big example. We're also like, I mean, what's it called? Saudi Arabia is practically a puppet state of the United States.
Saudi Arabia is not a puppet state. Saudi Arabia makes their own money through oil. That was your point earlier on controlling oil. So
yeah, if Iran wanted to play the Saudi Arabia game, we wouldn't be bombing Iran, and because Saudi
we would
Arabia,
definitely be bombing Iran because they're trying to make nuclear weapons. They're providing Russia with the Shahed drone
we
at
have
tens
nuclear
of
weapons.
thousands of munitions, which we're also trying to whether we're trying to, and we can get in a whole nother conversation about the Russia-Ukraine war, and I'm more than happy to do that because I don't think it's the level that most people do. I'm looking at the Ukrainian, like I would honestly be on board with you if you were telling me right now that we're using Ukraine as a money laundering point to put more money into America through all the donations. And if you look at that, if you look at the money that we're putting in Ukraine right now, it's being funneled back to Democrats and Republicans' pockets. Like I would be on your side if that was your argument. But right now you're sitting here telling me we're trying to control the Middle East while we're leaving multiple Middle East countries. That's why the ISIS caliphate was created in Iraq. That's why we left Afghanistan and lost the largest U.S. base in the Middle East to China. China took over it. What is it? Bagram Air Base. We literally put $100 billion into building Bagram Air Base, and right now China has full control of that.
Okay.
So if we're trying to control the Middle East, why would we pump $100 billion into a base that we're just going to let China have?
When was that base created? I'm not familiar with
98 or 2000, somewhere. The Google when Bagram was created. I'm grasping at straws and when Bagram was created, but we left Bagram, which was the largest base in the Middle East, and it was the closest base to China. Like we had strategic reasons to have that base. Like if we ever have to stop China from invading Taiwan, which I am fully for, I'm fully for the Taiwanese people. No different than I am a Zionist. I'm fully for the Israeli people.
Okay.
I am a Zionist.
It says it was built by the Soviet Union in the 1950s.
Oh, interesting.
Okay,
I wasn't.
No. Look up.
The airfield.
Oh, so they built the runway. Bagram Air Base.
And then Dwight D. Eisenhower. Well, that's not relevant. A runway was built in 1976 during ongoing Soviet-Afghan collaboration,
which was once again something the United States paid for.
So when did we take it? Like, what?
How did the United States pay for the Soviets making something?
How did we pay for it? We literally fucking.
We took it over in 2001.
Okay.
And
but we didn't build it.
Did the United States pour into Bagram Air Base? It's hundreds of billions of dollars. I'm not sliding the conversation. He's Googling right now.
I get it. I will say it's getting a bit late, so maybe we should wrap it up soon and make it a next stream thing.
We can do it on Thursday or we can do it on Saturday. I have no issue with that.
I can probably do Saturday.
Well, hold on.
So I have no issue with that. It's been great conversation. It's been great civil discord. I do appreciate the fact, like I told you earlier, you didn't come on like a troll. We're literally having like faith of heart conversations, and I do appreciate that. It has been a spectacular talking point with you. I'm going to call you Adawin. I don't know if I'm mispronouncing it. I thought about calling you Peter Griffin because that's what the email chain says. But either way, I do appreciate the intellectual conversation because we have had hard conversation and it's been spectacular.
Yeah.
There's been times that I felt like, fuck, maybe you're making points that I need to understand. And I hope there's been times that maybe you're thinking and maybe you don't. And that's okay. Like it really is. But I have enjoyed the civil discourse between the two of us. It has been great, or the three of us. It has been great conversation, and I definitely appreciate you making the time out of your day to be here for 2 hours. That was spectacular. Hopefully, next time IV Cam doesn't fuck me over on getting started on time. That's the program I use to use my phone as the webcam. So, yes, you have my email, and what name do you want us to call you?
Yeah, you can call me Peter. Peter works.
All right, Peter. I definitely appreciate it, Peter. I appreciate you making the taking the time out of your day to show up. I know we all have busy schedules, especially with you being in school. I know how taxing that is. And I definitely appreciate your time and the fact that you showed up. To our audience, this has been one of the best conversations that I have had in a long time. And I really do appreciate it, Peter. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Glad to talk to y'all. I think we're very close to agreeing on some things. I think there's just some things that are being hung up on, and I hope you do some more research. Maybe not from
I
Texas, no.
absolutely will. I'm definitely not a closed-minded conservative. I am a conservative, but I'm not a closed-minded conservative. And I hope maybe there's a thing or two you'll look into that you listen to from here. And if not, that's okay. Peter, I appreciate the fact that you took the time out of your day to talk to us. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
And you
Muchas
have a great
gracias.
day. I hope tomorrow's a fucking wonderful day at school and not a shitty one. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. I'll talk to y'all later. Hope you have a
See you
good
later,
one.
man.
Mhm.
You too. We'll talk to you later, Peter. Bye. All right, everyone. That was a continual conversation with a communist. And sometimes it's a difficult conversation. Sometimes you got to try to bring them full circle. And I'm not going to lie, he made some valid points. He made some conversation points that I was looking for.
There you go.
That I don't necessarily completely disagree with. But there were some points that I adamantly and vehemently disagree with.
I was about to say.
Hold that thought.
Now Shizzler was wanting to come on a call. I don't think he's going to be as respectful as us.
No, Shizzler, you can't be on the call if you're going to be a cunt.
But he made some good points. But that's the difference there is that a guy that's actually what the hell was that?
Double check and make sure that we have a make sure we're there.
We're green. We green. Yeah, fuck him. I just want to call. Oh, we're back. We're back. Okay, we're here.
Make sure that we have
Yeah, we're here. So Shizzle wanted to be on, but here's an ad.
Today's sponsor is Chicago Steak Company, and they're giving away 8 free steak burgers on every order. Code 8burgers. Think about the last time you bought burgers at the grocery store. You stood there staring at a wall of plastic wrapped ground beef, trying to figure out which one isn't going to turn into a hockey puck on the grill. Maybe you grabbed the expensive organic pack. Maybe you went cheap. Either way, you got home, fired up the grill, and watched them shrink to half the size, dry in the middle, falling apart through the grates. Chicago Steak Company figured out a better way. They make half-pound steak burgers from USDA prime beef, hand-formed from premium cuts, and ship them to your door on dry ice. These hold together on the grill, stay juicy, and actually taste like steak. Here's the deal. Spend $189 or more on any steaks you want. Use code 8burgers and then add 8 free steak burgers plus a bottle of steak seasoning plus free shipping to your order. That's $200 in free extras on top of whatever you ordered. 15,000 5-star reviews. These people know what they're doing. Go to MikeChicagoSteak.com/rumble, code 8burgers, link in the description. Get them before they're gone. No, it was a very good conversation. We had some points that there were disagreements. We also had some points that there were agreements, whether he wanted to agree or I wanted to agree. I had him sit there on the ropes. Like I was trying to make him at least agree that the constitutional documents.
Yeah, well, he sounded closer to a capitalist than you did a communist.
Yeah, I felt that. I felt that.
Everybody in the comments thought so too.
And it wasn't about gotcha moments. Like I really did try to have like a clean conscience when I was talking.
Yeah, well, that's the best way to do it. I mean, there's no reason to get ugly about it.
There is none.
Right.
But at the end of the day,
I'm a floating head.
He had to. Hold on, let's see if we can get Shizzler on here. Let's see if I can do this.
Shizzler was chomping at the bit, dude.
Let's see if we can get him. Copy link. Let's figure out where the clipboard is. CLIPBOARD. Clipboard. Nope, that was wrong. I don't know how to do it.
How you got to do it in the beginning?
No, I can find it.
Okay.
So we can take callers, but I have to give them the link.
Okay.
So hold on.
I wish they could just randomly like. We slapped it in the chat.
I think that's the whole point.
Okay. Oh God.
That's wrong too.
Damn it, Bill Gates.
But the point is, like, we're not that far apart. Like, somebody that's a communist, because I can fully agree that communism looks good on paper. Ask the Google how I open clipboard.
Let's see here. Look, see, because that dude, he's talking about like the illegals from his point of view, but he's also supported by someone else, which is fair. But then, you got someone like Shizzler who's on the other side of that, who the illegals he knows are getting free handouts and not paying taxes, is the points he was making.
Yeah, and I couldn't look at the comments, guys. I
was trying to stay with it. We also got stream sniped by someone else, which we don't care.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, run it. I don't give a shit.
Control V. God damn it. Control V. It's right there. How do I just... Like, the whole point, though, was to be more like Charlie. Charlie had conversation, but it wasn't about completely shitting on people. Now, were there moments that I came across like I was being strong-minded and forcing him to have conversation points? Guys, we're going to lose video for a second, but I'm going to try to post the shit in the chat.
It's probably burning.
Rumble. And the fact that like he was willing to have intelligent conversation with us was important, because a lot of people that feel some type of way are not willing to have conversation. And that's what matters. Like if we're not having conversation, what we're going to have is what's going on, like for instance, at the White House. At the White House dinner.
You can see my feet right now.
I can see your feet as well.
Those are Chevelle's. or however you say it, like cheap hey dudes. They're definitely
But
old man
he was
shoes.
stuck on cars because my thing is, if you own a car, you're in the top 1% of the world's poverty level. That means you make more money than 98%.
Saying he's got to join locals
He doesn't have to join
because
locals.
the other guy didn't join locals, but he said he'd join anyway.
It's cheap right now, Shawnee. Join it for $1 a month.
These are showing off my old man shoes over here.
Copy link. All right. Hold on, guys. We're almost there.
This is what the elders wore on the planet Piccolo, dude. Probably one DBZ fan out there. You know, how lazy. Yeah, that's like that's stupid.
Greg, see if you can post that.
Change the locals to $20 an inch. What?
See if you can post that link in the comments. I just sent it to you in a text message.
All right.
Get it?
Yeah. Let's see how it loads up.
All right, so we're putting the link in the comments. Greg's upside down. Okay.
All right. There, links up for callers.
So click the link. You want to join the fucking conversation? I've done everything I can do. We have no callers in the link.
I'm not trying to insanely long with this either.
No, we're almost done. But if you want to have a point to talk,
Some water while we wait on that.
click that link. And so he made some viewpoints and he didn't act like a troll. And that was what was important. We weren't looking for somebody to sit here. Shizler, whoever wants to join the calls, it's on the. Okay. So it's on the call log is on the messages. All you got to do is click that link that Quentin McGregor put up there. And you can join the podcast. You can join that. We want you to join, as a matter of fact. So if anybody wants to talk, because if you're not going to talk to us, we're going to call it like this has been one of the longer episodes we've had. Maybe we run one more ad, but that's 11 minutes away. We made $14 or I'm sorry, $1.15 on the ad. I said that wrong. Where are y'all at? Join the queue if you want to talk. Oh, wow. I said all that. So come on, guys. Join the queue. It's in the notes, or it's in the comments. Yeah, it had to be his phone. My fucking mic died again. Nope, it's not charging. It won't turn on and charge. We need to be having conversation with people with a difference of opinion. If we don't do that, like Charlie Kirk said, if we don't have civil discourse, you end up like Greg.
Big TS post.
Double check and make sure that we have audio still. But the caller queue is in the comments. If you want to join the podcast, if you want to talk, join the podcast.
So Schiller's signing up. You don't have to sign up. I don't think. I don't know the other guy did. I doubt he would have signed up for the local.
He didn't sign up to locals, Shawnee. Just click the queue.
Communists are better with computers.
Are they?
No.
Are they allowed to have
That guy's
computers?
just not a capitalist yet.
He's close. He says we're close. We're close to being.
Closer to us
But
than we are
like
now.
there were points that I had him. Like I
like the no military thing, and then he was like, "Oh, well, you know, Russia needed a military to not get like, okay, well, fuck, like."
Well, that was like when he was like, "Oh my God, you know, blah blah blah, communists or capitalists are terrible." But like, nobody's ever tried to. Nobody's ever been able to make it to a past socialist without propping their country up with capitalism. Like that was the point. Like no communist, no attempt at full-blown communism, which is why I gave him the credence at the very beginning. It was, hey, communism on paper sounds spectacular. We all get Lamborghinis.
Yeah.
We all get big houses. We all get all the food and all the necessary objects in our lives to live. But at the end of the day, you can't do it
Shizzy is doing shizzy things
without capitalism. What does that mean? Lindsay, call Niggles. That's his last name. Because that's his last name.
Oh, he's probably still trying to do something. On radio sound.
And I can't call him. Do you have him as a friend on your phone? Miss Rage, call Nichols.
But it says when you click the link, you have to download Rumble Studio. That's what Lindsay just said.
Oh, you might have to download Rumble Studio to join the call queue.
Guy probably has that.
He probably does. All right, well, if I don't see a comment from Nichols in the next 3 minutes.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, he's loading.
Okay. That's what we need is, right? Really gets my goat. That's all the motherfucker says.
We're 6 minutes away from another ad. So You got us for the next 6 minutes. But the whole point of the fact is we have to have civil discourse with people we disagree with. We can have conversation. We can talk about things that we don't agree on without completely shitting on each other and saying you're fucking stupid. Like, that's the most important part. And without that, if you don't do that,
He doesn't know how to join. Got TK and very interested in this. Still got 14 Washington. Might as well.
if you don't know how to do that, if you don't have the capability to talk with each other, if we don't talk with the left, what you're gonna have is more of what happened the other night at the White House. What was that?
The press conference.
The press
White House press conference dinner.
Yeah, you're gonna have more people trying to kill presidents. And we didn't condone that with if you were trying to kill Joe Biden or you're trying to kill Donald Trump or you're trying to kill Ronald Reagan. Like, that is the problem that happens, is it ends up decaying into violence. And violence is the last solution. If we're trying to kill each other, no one survives.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, no one lives a happy life looking over their shoulder.
Eye for an eye leaves the world blind.
It absolutely does leave the world blind. I agree with that with 100% certainty. And so we appreciate the fact that Peter was willing to come on and have the conversation. Now, if Peter shows up next Thursday, we'll have more conversation. Or this Thursday, we'll have more conversation. If he doesn't, well, Peter, we appreciated the fact that you showed up in the first place. This wasn't a gotcha moment. I wasn't trying to just shit on his views. I was just trying to understand them. I wanted to understand what makes a devout communist when it hasn't ever worked one time.
Yeah.
When they use phrases like we had to divert back to capitalism when they left capitalism.
Also, I looked up Lenin and Stalin, and those committees he was talking about were shut down constantly.
Well, that was my point when I was like, well, at the end of the day, who controls Russia today? Putin. Well, why? Well, because he controls the government.
Communism is essentially a fantasy.
It's a beautiful fantasy.
Right, as most fantasies are, right?
Like, it's a spectacular fantasy. It's a utopia where everybody gets Lamborghinis and doesn't have to put in the effort.
It goes completely against human nature.
But that's the problem, is it does go against human nature. At the end of the day, when somebody has complete power, they have complete power. So if I want to tell your business that I now own it, like Russia did with McDonald's, for instance. Cooper, that was a Cooper Pat, in case you didn't know. Shawnee, where you at?
It says I'm verified, but when I open it, it tells me to verify. That's Chizzler.
Well, you got 2 minutes and 48 seconds to figure that out. Because he was able to figure it out. There, I've penned it. Like, and if we sit here and just shit on people that say communism is the greatest utopia that could ever exist, like for instance, and I have a whole fucking book. Oh, look, my face disappears. One day we won't have to have the background, but right now we do. Like, I got a whole book of conversation points. Like, I hyper fixated on so many things. Click the thing on your fucking phone. See how hard it is to actually join. He figured it out, Shawnee. Maybe that communist was smarter than you.
It's not gonna let me download that shit.
No, it's not gonna let you. Miss Rage, click the thing and see if you can join the video. See if we can get anybody that clicks that. We will let you join the podcast right now.
This is a one-time only offer. You can join the podcast and talk to the great Ultra Maga Nation that you've never gotten to speak with before. Like nobody's ever been on the Ultra Maga Nation podcast except Peter Griffin. Peter Griffin is who we talk to today. But if we don't have that discourse, we're going to have the breakdown of society. And the problem with the breakdown of society is it's what we get today. That's why there's been 4 attempts on the current administration's life. There's been 4 attempts on Donald Trump's life. And what's going to happen if they take Donald Trump? What's going to happen when someone succeeds? Yeah. I don't see us going back. Like when JFK was assassinated, the country unified. It unified in a way that I've never seen this country unify past like 9/11. That's the problem. It will be a full-on civil war. That's what they think they want.
Yeah.
That's what sounds great on TV. Like when you do that, when you take the leader of the free world's life, you're putting the free world at risk. You're putting them at risk. No, I sent him the same link that I put on the podcast. But when you take the life of the leader of the free world, you're putting the free world at risk. You're putting them at risk of the kind of detriment, the free world, that I don't know that we can stand today. I don't know that the free world has a chance at surviving if you take Donald Trump. I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm not saying that I'm the guy that knows things, because God knows I'm not. But I do know that if that happens, it could very well be the biggest transgression in American history.
Keep sending them to download the Rumble app, even though you already downloaded it. But
there you go, Greg.
They can cancel your accounts. Where's that microphone? They can cancel your accounts, freeze your cards, decide what you're allowed to buy, say, or support. Big banks and financial institutions have total control, and they use it. That's why financial independence matters more now than ever. Introducing Rumble Wallet, a wallet built for real freedom. With Rumble Wallet, you control your money. You control your money, not a bank, not a government, not a tech company. Buy digital assets like Tether, Tether Gold, and Bitcoin in one secure place. No permission, no middleman, no cancel button. And when you want to support creators you actually believe in, you can use the Rumble Wallet app to directly tip content creators. Directly tip content creators. Securely, instantly, and without interference. This isn't a credit line they have to shut off. It's your wallet, permanently. Yours to protect your future, yours to protect your family. When the system fails, when institutions turn on their own people, financial sovereignty is the difference between security and vulnerability. Rumble Wallet isn't about politics, it's about freedom, ownership, and protecting what's yours. So take control today. Download Rumble Wallet now and step away from the big banks for good. True ownership, true protection, true financial freedom.
Download Rumble Wallet.
Do it.
Guys, I understand that we couldn't get some people on the podcast, and we appreciate everybody's effort. Podcast is going to end now.
3 hours.
It's been a fucking long one, guys. It's been a good one, though. Like, probably one of the best. So we appreciate everybody staying logged in and listening. We're probably going to have Peter Griffin on the next episode, if not the episode after that. Look for us on Thursday around 7:30 to 8:30. Hopefully it's not another 2.5 hour podcast, but it is. If it is, I hope you tune in for the whole one. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to hit the subscribe so you get notifications when we go live. And don't forget to hit the follow button. Hit that like button. I know we only have 12 of you watching right now, but I expect at least 10 likes. Thank you for watching tonight. This was a good one. Ultra Maga Nation, the shittiest podcast on Rumble. We're out.